If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 279, Monsters from the Abyss are also a threat to the inner world. Blue Star, Panda Country Rifan live broadcast room. At this moment, the live broadcast room has fallen into a black screen state. Just before, when Nojiko took off Rifan's clothes, the audience could no longer see the direction of the development of the matter. The only thing they could know was that Kashomi seemed to have something to say to Rifan. And the two of them are still in the same bathtub at the moment. Tell me, what do you want to ask of me, Kashomi? Rifan, you just think that I'm asking you for something. If it weren't for this, it's hard to imagine that you would take off your coat and give massage service to someone like me who you met for the first time. That's right, as expected of His Excellency Rifan, you're really wise. Don't praise me, Kashomi. Speaking of which, your skills are good, better than Ayana's. Rifan sat on Kashomi's folded legs, arched his body and let Kashomi loosen his back muscles for him. It has to be said that ninjas are full of tricks. Both Ayane and Kashomi have their own methods of massage. Kashomi, who was only wearing a set of white cool clothes, frowned slightly when she heard the word Ayane, but she soon calmed down. If these techniques are more intense, they can easily cut off the enemy's muscles and break the enemy's bones. As for what you said about my skills being better, probably because I have more experience in the way of killing than Ayane. After a pause, she continued. Rifan, you mention Ayane, presumably Ayane has done something similar to you. Did she wear nothing at that time? Kashomi said, looking at the clothes on her body. The white clothes on her body were almost transparent due to the water. What, worrying about what I might do to your sister? Rifan laughed. That's right. Kashomi nodded without hesitation. That's what I'm asking you for. Rifan, can I ask you to let Ayane go and not let her become your slave? After coming to the copy space for such a long time, Kashomi naturally knows how rare devil fruit is. If devil fruit were really that easy to obtain, she wouldn't be able to obtain every devil fruit until now. Although it has been learned that Ayane has been lucky enough to get a devil fruit and handed it to Rifan. But Kashomi remains pessimistic about Ayane getting the other two devil fruits to complete the contract with Rifan. You know it's impossible for me to cancel the contract with Ayane directly, right? Rifan turned around and looked at Kashomi in front of him with interest. If you agree, the price can be me. Kashomi put her hand on her chest, and said very seriously. You're really a good sister who cares about her sister. But are you sure I'm willing to give up Ayane for you? Hearing Kashomi's words, Rifan became more interested in her. Among reincarnators, there have been rumors of you, Rifan. You like beautiful women. Before, when we were on deck. Rifan, you look at me from time to time, right? This also makes me sure that this rumor has a certain degree of truth. It also made me sure that Rifan is interested in me, isn't it? If you are willing to give up the contract with Ayane, I can take over the contract. If I can't give you enough devil fruit, I will be your slave. Kashomi said. Wow, you are really full of confidence in your beauty. But I don't deny that you do have a pretty face. But Kashomi, do you really understand what it means to be my slave? As Rifan said, he put his hands on her thighs to make his body sit closer to Kashomi's face. For a moment, Kashomi could even feel Rifan's skin in her abdomen. Fortunately, Rifan is only about 10 years old now. Therefore, Kashomi didn't feel much strangeness or shyness. I understand that if I can't complete the content stipulated in the contract, I'm ready to sacrifice myself. Rifan, I shouldn't make you feel uninterested. Besides my face, my figure should also interest you. Kashomi smiled, lifted Rifan's hand to her chest. Having said that, Rifan could clearly feel that Kashomi's smile was a little absent-minded. Rifan raised his eyebrows, and couldn't help shaking his own palm to feel what was in his hand. As for Kashomi, she turned her head and pursed her lips. The look of letting Rifan do whatever he wants. Kashomi, we don't care about the figure you mentioned for now. You should understand that if you become my slave, you have become a traitor in the eyes of your country. Your ninja village may not recognize you either. Seeing that Kashomi did not resist his actions, Rifan casually took out the ointment that had been used on Ayane's body and began to apply it on Kashomi's chest. I was originally a traitor from Ninja Village. As for Ayane, she is the hope of the village. In the future, she might become the head of the village. Kashomi pursed her lips, while enduring the cold touch in her chest, and said. Because her eyes were closed tightly, she didn't even know what Rifan had smeared on her body. She just feels that there is something oily on her skin. Kazumi understood that although Ayana might not be the strongest person in Ninja Village right now, but as long as she continue to sail in the copy space and continue to grow, one day, she might really become the strongest in Ninja Village. This is also helpful for their Ninja Village to protect itself from monsters in the abyss. That's right, even Kazumi who is in the other world will feel the difficulty of the abyss monster. She also understands that their Ninja Village is now facing the threat of monsters from the abyss, and it is also in jeopardy. I see. Because you feel that you have no hope of returning to your village. So you want to pin your hope on your little sister Ayane. It's just, Kazumi. When you tell me about this, did you ask Ayane for her opinion? She may not agree to your proposal. Rifan smiled and turned his head towards the door. Kazumi opened her eyes, just when she was about to say something. The door was suddenly pushed open. Ayane rushed in from the door angrily. Kazumi, what on earth do you want to do? Ayane came close to Rifan and Kazumi, first glanced at Rifan and Kazumi's behavior in shock, and then yelled at Kazumi. Chapter 280, Charm Talent? Sorry, I have already seen the most beautiful woman in the world. Kazumi stared blankly at Ayane who pushed the door open. Because the sound insulation effect of the doors of the Black Pearl is really good. Before Ayane pushed open the door, she didn't even notice that Ayane had come outside the bathroom door. Ayane. Kazumi opened her mouth, looked at Rifan's hands on her chest, and finally looked at Nojiko. Because Ayane pushed the door open, Nojiko and Vivi, who were guarding the door before, walked over curiously. Nojiko had expected and was already familiar with the scene inside the door, so naturally she wouldn't feel anything strange. But Vivi, after seeing the picture of Rifan sitting face to face on Kazumi's lap, her whole face turned red again. Don't look at me like that, Miss Kazumi. I just said I wouldn't eavesdrop. I didn't say that I would stop other people from looking for Captain Rifan. Miss Ayane is an important guest of Captain Rifan. Since she is looking for Captain Rifan, I naturally cannot stop her. Nojiko spread her hands and said with a smile. Seeing Nojiko's appearance, Kazumi could only choose to let out a long sigh, and turned to look at Ayane. She didn't tell Ayane what she said to Rifan earlier. She knew Ayane's character, if Ayane knew about it, absolutely will choose to refuse. However, just because Kazumi didn't say anything, doesn't mean Rifan wouldn't say anything. It's actually like this. Rifan continued what he was doing, and at the same time said that Kazumi wanted to replace Ayane. Although Kazumi wanted to stop it, if Rifan insisted, she had no choice. Instead, after Rifan used Thunder Fruit to increase the electrical stimulation in her body, she collapsed in the pool water with a red face. No, I don't agree. Kazumi, you can't make decisions for me. Sure enough, after listening to Rifan's narration, Ayane immediately showed a gesture of rejection. Ayane, after all, Rifan has to make a decision on this matter. Kazumi shook her head, resisting the stimulation brought by Rifan's massage and said. Humph, the contract is my business, and I can naturally make a decision. Besides, Rifan didn't really do anything to me. Your worry is simply superfluous. Ayane clasped her hands together, frowning as she looked at Rifan's state at the moment. After all, Kazumi did this for her, which made Ayane a little awkward. Really, then what's going on with your chest? I don't think you gained weight because of overnutrition. You say yes, Rifan. At this time, you should be able to tell me the truth. Kazumi glanced at Ayane's chest, and said. She is not lying, Kazumi. Ayane is really overnourished. Rifan smiled, and told Kazumi about the special ointment. Of course, Rifan also talked about the Ayane brand drink. How can such an ointment exist? Rifan, please don't make such jokes. Kazumi frowned, obviously not believing what Rifan said. You don't have to believe it, after all, what I'm using for you now is the same brand of ointment as Ayane. Rifan said, and pinched Kazumi's pink bad hard. Ah, brand of oil. Kazumi opened her mouth, and quickly lowered her head to look at her chest. Maybe it's because Rifan used Thunder Fruit for stimulation. Perhaps it is because Kazumi's special system is more suitable for special oil. Although Rifan used the ointment on Kazumi for a short time, but her body has faintly changed. It turned out to be true. Kazumi raised her eyebrows, and looked up at Rifan who was staring at her with a smirk on his face. You are really a strange person, Rifan. If you go back to your hometown, these inventions of yours will be very popular. Hearing this, Rifan smiled even more. Kashomi, you and Ayani are indeed sisters. Even the words you said are so similar. Hump. Ayani immediately glanced to the right arrogantly when she heard this. Apparently, Rifan said that she looks like Kashomi, which made Ayani a little unhappy. Rifan, you haven't answered me yet. Can I exchange with Ayani? Suddenly, with a strange fluctuation, Kashomi spoke to Rifan. Rifan followed the sound and felt that the charm of Kashomi who was talking in front of him suddenly increased. Vaguely, her body seemed to be surrounded by pink light. Rifan opened his mouth slightly, and the haki energy in his body couldn't help mobilizing. Under the effect of powerful haki, in an instant, his child body, which had been reduced due to the fruit of age, returned to its original state. Likewise, because the body becomes an adult. In addition, he and Kashomi are too close at this moment, and Kashomi's charm seems to be infinitely magnified at this moment. Kashomi immediately felt Rifan's reaction caused by the surge of blood. Although Kashomi was a little ashamed by this situation, there was a hint of a triumphant smile on her face. In this way, Rifan will choose to let me stay and let Ayana go. Kashomi looked at Rifan's somewhat surprised expression, then looked at Vivi, Nojiko and even Ayana who were also attracted by her charm talent and showed surprised faces, and couldn't help thinking in her heart. I see, this should be your talent, Kashomi. Suddenly, Rifan's slightly teasing words pulled Kashomi's mind back. Hey? Have you recovered already? Kashomi turned her head in surprise, and looked at Rifan in front of her with a calm face. However, she clearly felt that Rifan's body still had a stress response. This made her feel a little strange. Hehe, your talent similar to charm power really surprised me. Unfortunately, I only saw the world's most beautiful woman Hancock not long ago, and my resistance to this aspect has increased. In addition, your innate ability seems to be able to be resisted by haki. So if you want to use this power to influence my judgment, the final result can only be nothing. Rifan said with a light smile. Rifan, you say that with your mouth, but your body is very honest. Kashomi breathed a sigh of relief, and increased the use of her natural ability to let Rifan choose herself and overrule Ayani. My body is my body and will is my will. They are not the same. But Kashomi, if you continue like this, you will be the only one who suffers. I will not judge you differently because of your ability. Speaking of which, you are trying to subvert my judgment with your natural ability. This matter, you must be punished. Rifan smiled, once again using the power of thunder fruit to condense between his hands. Suddenly, a burst of blue-white lightning flashed. Kashomi's whole body also trembled under the effect of thunder fruit's power. Naturally, her charm talent also stopped at this moment. Damn it, I actually lost my mind for a moment before. Ayana clenched her fists, looked at Kashomi who was shocked by the electric shock at the moment and said. At that moment, she actually felt that Kashomi, who she should have hated in front of her, was so pitiful. Suddenly, she had the idea of playing with Kashomi like she did when she was a child. It's no wonder that at that moment, the charm of this Miss Kashomi seemed to reach the level of Empress Hancock. This should be the power of some kind of devil fruit. Fortunately, Captain Rifan Haki is strong enough and has a firm willpower, so he won't be affected by this power. Nojiko said with a light smile. Without knowing the talent of the Reincarnators, Nojiko could only regard Kashomi's ability as some kind of devil fruit ability. Of course, as someone who knows Rifan well, Nojiko naturally knows that Rifan is not the kind of man who has a firm resistance to charm. Sure enough, when she lowered her head to look under the pool water, she saw something strange about Rifan's body. Rifan's little brother is raging to go. About 20 minutes later. The ointment is real. Kashomi frowned slightly, and looked at Rifan standing in front of her. At this time, Rifan had already put on the attire of an adult man, and was looking at Kashomi's broad chest with a smile on his face. Don't you believe that the changes in Ayana's body come from nutrition? In this case, I must let you experience it for a while. In addition, in view of your ability to use charm on me before, this is equivalent to launching an attack on me. Since that's the case, it's okay for me to attack you. While speaking, Rifan stretched out his hand to put Kashomi's chest in the pool. Because the voltage of the thunder fruit that Rifan cast on Ayani earlier was too high, she finally couldn't hold back and passed out. When she woke up, she found that she had become the same state as Ayani. It's not bad, there seems to be a lot of stock. Rifan massaged Kashomi's chest, nodded and said. Chapter 281, Is improving charm linked to dancer skills? At this time, Rifan had already put on the attire of an adult man, and was looking at Kashomi's broad chest with a smile on his face. Don't you believe that the changes in Ayana's body come from nutrition? In this case, I must let you experience it for a while. In addition, in view of your use of charm on me before, this is equivalent to launching an attack on me. Since that's the case, it's okay for me to attack you. While speaking, Rifan stretched out his hand and pinched Kashomi's chest. Because the voltage of the thunder fruit that Rifan cast on Kashomi was too high, she finally couldn't hold back and passed out. When she woke up, she found that she had become the same state as Ayana. It's not bad, there seems to be a lot of stock. Rifan massaged Kashomi's chest, nodded, and said. Stock. Kashomi opened her mouth, looked down, and immediately realized that Rifan was not lying. Rifan, don't tell me you want it. Kashomi frowned slightly, raised her head to look at Rifan, and asked. Exactly what you think. In view of your previous aggressive behavior, I will let you feel the treatment that Ayana suffered before. But unfortunately, I have to go and see those Marines. So the subsequent operations will have to be helped by Nojiko. Speaking of which, after such a long time, the live broadcast happened to be black. You two sisters can stay here with Nojiko together to chat. After Rifan finished speaking, he put his hand on Ayana's shoulder. Ayana wanted to speak, but Rifan immediately put his index finger on her lips. I've already decided, Ayana. Next, you two sisters should have a good chat. It's just right, you can also exchange ideas about your current physical condition. Maybe, it will bring some help to you in raising your children in the future. After Rifan finished speaking, he waved his hand and patted Ayana's chest with the back of his hand. Its power is so great that the whole room can even hear a snap. You pervert. Ayana took a step back, looking at Rifan, who turned and walked towards the door with a flushed face. Wait, Rifan, you haven't said whether you can agree to replace Ayana with me. Seeing that Rifan was about to leave, Kashomi got up from the pool in panic and shouted to Rifan. Rifan waved to Kashomi, who was behind her, and said with a smile. My answer is no. Kashomi, although you are very excellent, and your talent charm is not bad. However, a contract is an agreement, and I am a person who is very strict with the agreement. Since it is Ayana who has made an appointment with me, I will not change it. So this time, I can only refuse you. Of course, if you insist on signing a contract with me, I won't refuse either. It just needs a new contract. Nojiko, I'm counting on you here. The taste produced by Kashomi is also good, please store more for me. Next, I have to go and see the situation of Momonga, Ian and other Marines. Almost time to use them to chat with Zephyr. When Rifan finished speaking, he had almost reached the door of the room. Suddenly, he stopped and looked at Vivi, who was standing at the door of the bathroom. Vivi, are you going to stay and help Nojiko? Or, like Ayana and Kashomi, you plan to use a special ointment after using the growth ointment? If this is the case, then I have to taste your milk. When Vivi heard what Rifan said, his face turned red immediately, and she ran to Rifan quickly. Captain Rifan, please don't have such a show with me. Vivi stomped her feet, pursed her lips and said to Rifan. Ha ha ha, what's the matter, Vivi, who told you to be so cute? Rifan smiled and patted Vivi's head. Come on, come with me to meet those Marines. After the matter at hand is over, it's almost time for you to fully master the Foxfire Sword technique. So far, Vivi's progress in practicing Foxfire Sword technique has been steadily and rapidly improving. From Rifan's point of view, she is only one actual combat away from mastering the Foxfire Sword technique. Thinking of this, Rifan couldn't help thinking of Vice Admiral Momonga of Naval Headquarters, who was detained by him. This is a good sparring man with a sword. Facing Rifan, Vivi couldn't use the skills she learned like she did against the enemy. But facing Momonga, Rifan felt that she might be able to do it. Don't worry, Rifan, I will definitely work hard to master it. Vivi put her hands into fists in front of her and said excitedly. So excited? Vivi, don't tell me you don't want me to see you in a swimsuit anymore. That's why you want to end your practice quickly. It really breaks my heart if it's true. Rifan sighed faintly, pushed open the door with a heartbroken look, and stepped into the cabin. No, Rifan, you misunderstood. Vivi noticed Rifan's expression, and subconsciously wanted to step forward to comfort him. Really? That, of course. That is to say, whenever I want to see Princess Vivi in a swimsuit, it's all right. That's, well, all right. Can you wear some bold swimsuits that Robin and Nojiko recommend? Well, that's still a bit too much, Rifan. You promised, shall we try to use a special ointment? I didn't agree. Let's forget about the special ointment. Vivi shook her head instinctively when she thought of how she might have been able to breastfeed before she was pregnant. It's such a pity, I wanted to see Vivi in advance what you look like as a mother. Rifan shook his head regretfully. Rifan, stop making trouble. Vivi said with a flushed face. Haha, okay, I won't make fun of you, I see you are blushing. Rifan pinched Vivi's cheek, and continued. Speaking of which, Vivi, are you interested in eating another devil fruit? Another devil fruit? Rifan, you want me to eat another devil fruit besides sand fruit? Vivi put her hands on Rifan's hand that was pinching her face, looked at Rifan in surprise and asked. You know, among the entire Black Pearl pirates, only she and Nami ate Logia's devil fruit. Theoretically speaking, they have already mastered the powerful devil fruit ability, so they don't need to eat another devil fruit. That's right, I have a slippery fruit here, and I plan to let you eat it. Slippery fruit? I remember you said before that this is a devil fruit that can make the skin of the body extremely smooth. That's right, besides that, it also has a cosmetic effect. If you want me to eat it, Rifan, of course I will, but I don't understand, I already have sand fruit, why do I need to eat slippery fruit? This is related to your position. Position? You mean the position of dancer? That's right. Rifan nodded with a smile and continued. Vivi, what kind of talent do you think an excellent dancer needs? Probably, it's the comprehension of music and the control of rhythm. As Vivi walked forward with Rifan, she raised her hand to her lips and said. This is one of them. As a spectator, I think it would be better if the dancers look better. Just like Kazumi who used her ability just now, if she dances while using her charm ability. That must attract quite a large audience. The level of dance may also improve. Rifan laughed. The reason why Rifan suddenly intends to let Vivi eat the slippery fruit. It was because Rifan was affected by Kazumi's ability. It can be said that Rifan had an inspiration in his mind when Kazumi activated her charm ability on him earlier. These days, although Vivi has worked hard to exercise her dancing ability in addition to her sword training, but the results that can be achieved are not high. So far, Vivi has not been able to achieve a level upgrade above the dancer's skills. It's not that Vivi's dance is not good, it can be said that she is already the best dancer on the Black Pearl. However, there is no other famous teacher on board who can teach Vivi about dancing, and Rifan knows little about dancing, so naturally there is no way to help Vivi improve her level as a dancer. I understand, Captain Rifan, I agree to eat the slippery fruit. Vivi said firmly. Improving her position as a dancer is also what she wants. Not only her, every member of the Black Pearl Pirates intends to improve their position mastery. Therefore, after hearing Rifan say that slippery fruit can improve her dancing ability, Vivi naturally fell in love. Of course, deep down in her heart, she also faintly had expectations for the beautification effect of the slippery fruit. That being said, but Vivi, you are pretty enough. I'm not too sure whether the beauty effect of slippery fruit will work for you. If eating it doesn't do anything to your face, perhaps you can only wait and see if you can further improve your appearance after awakening the slippery fruit. So, it's up to you to decide whether to eat the slippery fruit or not. Rifan said solemnly. Even if it doesn't make my face prettier. But I have an extra ability, so I am not at a loss. Captain Rifan, please give me the slippery fruit. With her hands behind her back, Vivi smiled and said to Rifan. Even if there is only a slight possibility of improving her dancer's skills, Vivi also wants to try it. Okay, since that's the case, I'll leave this slippery fruit to you. But before that, I'll let you have the physical condition to take another devil fruit. As Rifan said that, he raised his hand and touched the tattoo of the pirates on Vivi's body. Panda Rifan, you use the double devil fruit ability awakening scroll on dancer Nefertari Vivi. Rifan ignored the prompt from the copy space, and sank into the Reincarnator's trading bar, taking down the slippery fruit. Marie Rose and Anoka have signed a contract with Rifan. Rifan also learned that the two of them are far from having enough points to buy slippery fruit. Therefore, taking the slippery fruit from the trading column at this time is not a violation of the rules Rifan set for himself. Vivi had the experience of eating sand fruit last time, but this time she didn't show much surprise because of the unpalatableness of eating slippery fruit. After taking a bite of the slippery fruit, she closed her eyes and began to feel the extra power in her body. What she didn't know was that not long after she closed her eyes, the clothes on her body all slipped off because of the smoothness of the skin made by the slippery fruit. This scene was naturally clearly engraved in Rifan's mind. Sure enough, if you eat slippery fruit, your clothes will slip off. However, since Alvita in the original book can successfully wear clothes on her body, there should be a way to prevent the clothes from slipping. Rifan rested his chin on one hand, and looked up and down the physical condition of Vivi in front of him. At this moment, his observation haki has already detected the surrounding. No one was around. Therefore, he is not worried that someone will see Vivi's condition at the moment. Under Rifan's observation, Vivi's body changed just like Alvita's. It is essential for the skin to become flimsy, fair, and beautiful. In addition, Vivi's height has achieved secondary growth. Originally she was less than 1.7 meters tall, but after taking the slippery fruit, she came to a position of 1.8 meters. Coupled with Vivi's already affluent figure due to the growth ointment, it adds a charm to Vivi. Although Vivi's face has not changed much, but because of the smooth and beautiful skin, her face looks a lot more beautiful. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Nefertari Vivi. Crew number, 07. Position, Dancer, Expert. Physical, 23,503. Physical level, A level. Devil fruit, sand fruit, slippery fruit. Kendo skill, Fox Fire style, unfinished. Other skills, Germa 66 exoskeleton. Special abilities, Junior Armament Haki, Junior Observation Haki. Loyalty, 100, life and death go hand in hand. Bounty, 20 million berry, only live ones. Dancer's skill level went from excellent to expert. Finally, there has been a level of progress. It seems that copy space also agrees with my theory. After the slippery fruit enhances the charm of Vivi, it can indeed promote the dance. But then we have to find other ways to make Vivi's dancer level reach the master level. I don't know if the awakening of the slippery fruit can further improve Vivi's dancer level. While thinking, Rifan lowered his head close to Vivi's chest. Then a gust of hot air blew out. Hey? What are you doing, Captain Rifan? The abnormality on her body made Vivi, who was feeling the ability, open her eyes. She looked down and finally realized her current state. After being stunned for a few seconds, her exclamation echoed in the depths of the cabin. Ah! When did my clothes fall off? Captain Rifan, close your eyes. Chapter 282, Vivi, who can't wear clothes. Vivi saw Rifan's face that was only a centimeter away from her chest, and wanted to back away in a panic. However, due to an accident, the slippery fruit ability was activated, causing the friction force on the solace of Vivi's feet to return to zero. In an instant, like stepping on a banana peel, Vivi lifted her feet into the air, and her body fell towards the deck. Rifan saw this. With a smile on his face, he wrapped armament haki around his hands and held Vivi in his arms like a princess. Phew, it's okay, I can still catch you with the armament haki on. But it's been a long time since I hugged you like this, Vivi. Another thing to mention, you are so beautiful now. While talking, Rifan looked at Vivi in front of him without any scruples. This is a rare opportunity. When Vivi reacts later, she may not be willing to show such a gesture in front of Rifan again. The slippery fruit can indeed make the skin of the user extremely smooth. But after Rifan wrapped his arms with armament haki, he could also clearly feel that the smoothness had been reduced. This is equivalent to two energies cancelling each other out. The energy of Vivi's current slippery fruit is not as good as the sum of the energy of Rifan's armament haki. Therefore, Rifan was able to hug Vivi's mirror-smooth body at the moment. Captain Rifan, no, don't watch it. Can you take me to my room quickly? Vivi looked around nervously, afraid that the situation between herself and Rifan would be seen by others. Forget about your place, let's go to my place, Vivi. Rifan smiled and glanced at Vivi's clothes that had slipped to the floor. With his float devil fruit ability, Vivi's clothes levitate from the floor. Wait, Captain Rifan. Why in your place? Vivi opened her eyes wide and looked at Rifan with a blushing face. At this moment, she suddenly felt that Rifan was going to do something to her. Don't worry, I just think there will be clothes that suit you there. Vivi, take a good look at your body. Now your height has grown to 1.8 meters. The clothes in your room are no longer suitable for you. Just right, I have clothes of all styles and heights. I think you should be able to find what you want. Rifan said with a smile. Afterwards, he used the door fruit to open a portal leading to his room beside him. And walked in with Vivi. When Rifan brought Vivi to the closet in his room, Vivi also found clothes suitable for her current height. But because of nervousness and the first time to grasp the slippery fruit, Vivi couldn't put on her clothes many times in a row. In desperation, she could only purse her lips and ask Rifan for help. And Rifan, of course, will not let go of such an opportunity. While teaching Vivi the power to control the slippery fruit based on his own experience, he personally helped Vivi wear a slim cheongsam. Because Vivi's loyalty has reached the full mark, now Rifan can also use the ability of slippery fruit. In addition, Rifan has the ability to control multiple devil fruits. So he can adapt to the power of the slippery fruit, much better than Vivi. After a while, Vivi found a white tight-fitting cheongsam from Rifan's clothes with a red face and stood in the center of Rifan's room. Through the extremely high fork, Rifan can clearly see Vivi's slender and round thighs. And through the opening of Vivi's collar, Rifan can also see a considerable line. Captain Rifan, see, can you stop looking at me like that? Vivi tightened her clothes and said to Rifan nervously. Although under Rifan's guidance, she has been able to control the smoothness and position of her skin so that the clothes on her body will not slip off her body. But being stared at by Rifan, she still thinks of the picture of being hugged by Rifan and being helped by Rifan to put on clothes while naked. And such a picture, just thinking about it, Vivi felt quite shy. After all, even though Rifan restrained himself when facing her, when he hugged her and helped her dress, his hands would still inevitably touch her skin. And she is not Nami after all, just this level of contact is enough to make Vivi blush. Okay Vivi, don't worry. You were just too nervous just now and didn't have the ability to control your slippery fruit. Now that you're used to it, the clothes won't slip off anymore. After all, you are a veteran of using devil fruit's ability. You're pretty good using the sand devil fruit, so it should be the same with slipper fruit. Okay, take a deep breath, it's time for us to leave. There's been enough delay, those Marines can't wait to meet me. Rifan patted Vivi on her head and encouraged with a smile. Vivi nodded upon hearing Rifan's gentle words. Taking a deep breath as Rifan said. After she exhaled all the air in her lungs, her opened eyes had returned to their former calmness. I understand, Captain Rifan. Thank you. Wait, Captain Rifan, what happened to your face? Vivi was talking, when suddenly her eyes widened, as if seeing something very surprising. Is there a problem with my face? Rifan touched his cheek, raised his eyebrows and asked. No, it's just, Captain Rifan, you seem to have become much better looking. Vivi's eyes were shining, and she couldn't help reaching out to caress Rifan's face. Rifan smiled, but didn't stop Vivi, and let Vivi raise her hand to touch it. This is normal. You have gained the power of the slippery fruit and become even more beautiful. Naturally, I will also look better because of the power of the slippery fruit. It's just a pity that I don't have the high-end gain like you. The change is probably the skin. Rifan laughed. It's not just a skin problem, Captain. I didn't notice it before, but now I take a closer look, Captain Rifan, you seem to be as attractive as Empress Hancock. Vivi's big eyes seemed to be full of love at the moment, and she said very excitedly. Really? It would be wonderful if it were true. If my face, Vivi, a beauty like you can be mesmerized. Presumably I will be able to use my face to charm other beautiful girls in the future. Rifan said with a light smile. Really, Captain Rifan, you only think of beautiful girls. Obviously I'm already standing in front of you. Vivi pouted, put her hands on her hips, and looked at Rifan with a complaining look. After a pause, Vivi continued. Captain Rifan, you should pay more attention in the future. You look really good looking now. If you show your charm too much, I'm afraid it will attract quite a few women to come to you. At that time, our Black Pearl pirates may be about to become a flower pirate ship. By the way, maybe you will also attract men. If you wear women's clothing, you will definitely attract more men. Hearing this, Rifan laughed. If my current charm really has an effect on men, then I might really be able to petrify enemies like Hancock in the future. Hancock is the captain of the affiliated pirate group appointed by Rifan. Although it has not been successful yet, Rifan believes that it will not take long. And Hancock will successfully become a member of the Black Pearl Pirates. At that time, if Hancock's loyalty reaches 100%, then he will be able to use Hancock's fruit ability. Naturally, petrifying others is no problem. Rifan, can I ask you another question? Seeing Rifan open the door and go out, Vivi quickly followed. Any doubts, Vivi? Captain Rifan, I want to ask why there are so many girls' clothes in your locker? You don't really have an interest in women's clothing, do you? Of course not. Those clothes are for Robin and Nojiko. Robin and Nojiko. Wait, don't tell me they wear this outfit and do something like that with you. Vivi blinked, and immediately thought of the relationship between Rifan, Nojiko, and Robin. In an instant, Vivi's face turned red again. Robin didn't wear it, but Nojiko once did. Although this Cheongsam doesn't suit Nojiko's appearance. But you know, Nojiko has a history of changing into someone else using her clone fruit. So Nojiko can change a lot in terms of height and body shape. Don't worry, the clothes have been washed and there is nothing dirty on them. Rifan put his hand on Vivi's head and said with a light smile. This. Vivi looked at the clothes on her body, and a light flashed in her eyes. Captain Rifan, Nojiko, has she become like me to accompany you to do that kind of thing? Vivi remembers that Nojiko used clone fruit to record her appearance on the grounds of recording her sand fruit ability. Well, it's a secret. Rifan smiled mysteriously, speaking of which, your current body shape and appearance. No, it's because the situation of devil fruit has changed, and it is necessary for Nojiko to re-record your body data. Rifan, you talked about my body shape and appearance earlier. Has Nojiko really changed into my appearance to do that and do this you? Vivi's face was flushed, and she scolded and chased after Rifan who was gradually getting away. The Black Pearl, guest room. Jun Vice Admiral, is it really okay for us to stay here? Is that Rifan planning to do something to us? Could it be, he's actually already made up his mind not to let us go back? Binz looked at Jun standing in front of him and asked nervously. Binz, this is the 10th time you have asked the same question. Don't worry, Rifan is not a murderer. And he has the purpose of being a Shishibukai. Until he achieves his goal, he will not do too much. Jun shook her head, looked at Momanga not far away, and continued. Momanga, are your injuries okay? If you can't hold on, how about I ask Rifan or Chopper to treat you? Those two people's medical skills can be said to be top-notch. Hearing this, Momanga also shook his head. No need, Jun. Anne has taken care of my injury. As long as I don't do strenuous movement in the future, my injury will slowly recover. It has to be said that the system of the strong in One Piece world is very powerful. As long as it is not a life-threatening injury. If you rest for a while, you can recover. Obviously, Momanga also exists in this category. Of course, this is also because Frankie's attack didn't really hurt the root of his body. Is that man Rifan still an excellent doctor? Shuzo, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, frowned and said. This bastard, how can he do everything? Jun Vice Admiral, are we really just staying on a pirate ship like this? We still have the mission of the Marine Gorilla. You know what Binz and Anne mean to Zephyr-sensei. Zephyr-sensei will go crazy if something happens to the two of them. On the side, when Anne and Binz heard Shuzo's words, there was a trace of worry in their expressions. Both are survivors of the massacre, they respect Zephyr, and naturally don't want Zephyr to worry about them. Sister Hina, can't you think of a way? At the very least, we hope to be able to get in touch with the Zephyr-sensei. If he has been unable to contact us, he will be anxious. Anne looked at Hina beside her, and said. Damn, it's all Nami and Karina fault. Those two thieves actually stole our den mushi when we weren't paying attention. Shuzo slammed his fist on the deck and roared angrily. Shuzo, you should stop venting your temper casually. This is Rifan's territory after all. If Rifan is dissatisfied, our situation will become difficult. Also, regarding the den mushi, Hina will find a solution, don't worry about it, Anne. Hina patted Anne's shoulder and said solemnly. Humph, what if this is Rifan territory? If he has the ability, he will appear in front of us now. Tell you Hina, even though he's standing in front of me right now. I'll scold him hard too. Shuzo cursed loudly, and suddenly didn't realize that the door had been pushed open by a corner. The next moment, a flash of lightning flashed from the doorway in front of Shuzo, forming Rifan's body. Rifan! Shuzo's eyes widened. Rifan raised the corner of his mouth and said with a smile. Earlier you said you were going to scold me, right? So you can start now, I'm listening. Chapter 283, Marine's goddess became Rifan's plaything. Asshole, do you think I dare not? Shuzo gritted his teeth and was about to scold Rifan angrily. However, he saw Rifan casually using lightning to construct a sparrow with thunder elements in his hand. Seeing this scene, Shuzo couldn't help swallowing. At this moment, he once again thought of the horror of being dominated by Rifan's lightning before. Why are you not talking? It seems that you are not as tough as I imagined. Tisk tisk, I wanted to say that if you can really scold me, I forgive you for your previous behavior. Sure enough, an electrocution is still unavoidable. As soon as the words fell, the thunder elemental sparrow in Rifan's hand landed on Shuzo's body. In an instant, Shuzo's whole body was surrounded by lightning power. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. Among the crowd, they could even see the white bones on Shuzo's body faintly appearing due to the electric shock. Are you really Rifan? Jun saw that Shuzo was only shocked by the and did not suffer too much damage. Ignoring Shuzo who was still in electric shock mode, she walked in front of Rifan with a puzzled look on her face. Why, after not seeing me for such a short time, you don't know me anymore, Jun? It's really sad if that's the case. Rifan turned around and said with a smile on his face. When Rifan was speaking, Vivi had already opened the door and walked in. No, it's just that you seem to be a little different. Could you have developed another skincare lotion that works wonders for the skin? If that's the case, I hope you can let me use it too. Jun raised her hand to touch the skin on Rifan's face, her eyes lit up involuntarily. It is no exaggeration to say that it is because of the slippery fruit. Rifan's skin is much better than that of Jun, who is a woman. And Jun, after all, is also a person who loves beauty. Now that she has seen Rifan's new image, she is naturally very interested. You've misunderstood me, Jun. It's not like I'm using some new body lotion this time. I just developed new abilities. If you want to use some skincare ointment first, I can recommend the special ointment you used last time. Rifan laughed. That kind of ointment is not good for the skin. In addition, the brand new ability you mentioned, in your realm, it should be something very powerful. Jun naturally knew what the special ointment Rifan was talking about was. Up to now, there are still drinks produced by her hidden in the refrigerator in Rifan's room. Under such circumstances, it is naturally impossible for Jun to easily use that special ointment again. The so-called newly developed capabilities in Rifan's mouth are what Jun pays more attention to. Want to know? Jun, you should understand what you need to pay. Rifan licked his lips, and said close to Jun's ear. Jun's heart trembled, and she thought of the scene of massaging with Rifan after making an agreement with Rifan earlier. Just when she was thinking about whether she really wanted to join what Rifan said to make Rifan take advantage of her again, Vivi walking towards her caught her attention. Are you, Princess Vivi? Jun asked suspiciously. It's no wonder, after all, Vivi's height has changed, so it's normal that Jun didn't recognize her at the first time. Vivi didn't speak, just nodded silently, as an answer to Jun's question. Jun frowned slightly, then looked at Rifan, then at Vivi. With her eyesight, it is natural to see that the skin on Rifan's and Vivi's faces are similar. Could it be that this Princess Vivi has also mastered the ability that Rifan said? Or is she just being influenced by the weird line of ointments that Rifan has developed? Jun thought to herself. Rifan, can I have a call with Anne and Teacher Zephyr? At this time, Hina came to Rifan's side and asked. Of course, I'm not a devil after all. Speaking of which, there was a call earlier. Rifan smiled, turned around and handed the Den Mushi to Anne. Rifan has already listened to the previous conversations between Anne and others with observation haki. He also had the idea of luring Zephyr to come to him. So naturally, he will not prevent Anne and others from talking with Zephyr. Miss Anne, aren't you going to use it? Rifan looked at Anne, who was staring at his own face in a daze. I'll use it. Rifan's words brought Anne back to her senses quickly, and she took the Den Mushi in Rifan's hand in a panic. Sure enough, women will be attracted by your current appearance, Captain Rifan. Vivi said with a light smile. As soon as these words came out, Anne's face couldn't help but flush slightly. As Vivi said, she was indeed stunned by Rifan's face before. It's my honor to be able to attract Miss Anne's attention. But then again, there are men staring at you Vivi right now. Rifan smiled and turned to look at Bins and Momanga. Stared at by Rifan's benevolent eyes, Bins and the others felt a chill for no reason, and quickly turned their heads to look away. Shouzo was shocked by Rifan before, and he still hasn't recovered from it. So neither of them wanted to be treated like Shouzo. Miss Anne, don't you want to call Zephyr? You can dial now. Of course, you just need to talk to him. There is no need to contact other people. Although Rifan was speaking in a negotiating tone. But Anne understands that Rifan is actually the person who limits her calls. Apart from Zephyr, she cannot contact anyone else in the marine. She took a deep look at Rifan, then quickly turned her head and quickly dialed Zephyr's number. She doesn't want to be affected by Rifan's face again. On the other hand, Hina, who couldn't restrain the passion in her heart, came behind Rifan, and gently drew a heart on the palm of Rifan's back with her own hand. Its purpose is self-evident. Obviously, Rifan's appearance at the moment also caused Hina, who was already in love with Rifan, to have a very serious and positive influence on Rifan. Seeing this, Rifan hugged Hina in his arms with a smile on his face. A hand even touched Hina's buttocks. Hina wouldn't scruple in front of Momanga and others and would not dare to make some intimate moves with Rifan in front of them. But Rifan doesn't care about that. Because of Rifan's actions, Hina's pretty face flushed a little bit. Rifan, what are you doing? Momanga stared at this scene with wide eyes. You know, Hina is the dream girl of many male marines. Seeing the marines' dream lovers being treated like this by Rifan at this moment, he was of course very surprised. What, does it mean that Momanga Vice Admiral likes Hina? Rifan smiled, not only did not let go of Hina, but with the other hand, he embraced Jun in his arms. Similarly, Rifan's other hand also started to walk on Jun's back. Momanga widened his eyes and opened his mouth wide, feeling like it was just a dream. Otherwise, why would he see Marine's two beauties being treated like this by Rifan? After a while, he rubbed his eyes vigorously and looked in the direction again. However, what he saw was no different from what he had seen before. Toki cake, that guy will definitely go crazy. Momanga murmured. At the same time, he clenched his fist involuntarily. It's no wonder, after all, deep down in his heart, he actually has a good impression of beauties like Jun and Hina. But Rifan, a pirate, treats the marine's goddess like this, two at a time. This time, even Momanga, who had a relatively calm personality, became a little angry. Chapter 284, Zephyr calls and questions Rifan. Rifan doesn't know the words of audiences from all over the world. He is now looking at the slightly messy expression of Momanga in front of him with great interest. It seems that the two of you, Hina and Jun, are indeed quite popular at Marine. Otherwise, Momanga Vice Admiral wouldn't have stared at me like that. Well, why don't I give you a chance? I'm standing still, you attack and see if you can break through my defense. Rifan let go of Hina and Jun, taunted Momanga, and said. Rifan, please stop making trouble. Momanga, don't listen to this man. Jun put her hands on her hips and looked at Rifan with a complaining face. Shouzo's fate is vivid in her memory, and she doesn't want Momanga to follow Shouzo's footsteps and fall to the ground. Don't worry, Jun, I'll be careful. I won't do anything to this Momanga Vice Admiral. Vice Admiral Momanga, if you're worried about being pinned down on the floor by me, why don't you come and spar with my crew? If you don't have the confidence to fight me, at least you should have the confidence to fight my crew, right? Rifan laughed. Rifan, you really know how to joke. Except for you, in the Black Pearl Pirates, Makita and Nico Robin are surprisingly strong. And that Chopper, it is said that he also has the history of defeating one of Big Mom generals. Besides them, I still remember the scene where I was easily knocked down by Frankie earlier. Momanga frowned, but he was not dazzled by the anger in his heart. It's not a few of them, but the girl beside me. Rifan reached out and pulled Vivi over, saying. Well, if it's Princess Vivi, you shouldn't have any problems, right? Hearing this, Momanga frowned and looked at Vivi. Princess of Alabasta. Momanga muttered, and looked up and down the image in front of his eyes and the previous Princess Vivi, who seemed to have become a little stronger. Among the bounties offered by the Black Pearl Pirates, Vivi was the only one designated to be captured alive. Momanga was naturally curious about her. By now, because of Vivi's changes plus what Rifan said earlier about certain powers, Momanga's curiosity about her continued unabated. Rifan, do you want someone to hone the strength she have learned from you? In that case, how about letting me accompany Princess Vivi? Jun stood in front of Rifan and Vivi and said with a smile. Jun was already curious about the power of the Black Pearl Pirates. With such an opportunity to explore the power that Vivi has learned, Jun naturally does not want to give up. Of course, rather than exploring Vivi's power, the reason why Jun wants to take on the fight is because she doesn't want to cause any accidents to Momonga. Once upon a time, if she wanted to explore the strength of Rifan and Rifan's crew, she had to pay a certain price, that is, to give Rifan certain benefits. But now, Rifan took the initiative to allow Momonga to compete with Vivi. This can't help but make Jun feel vigilant. On the current reward order of Princess Vivi, there is also a reminder of catch alive. But if Vivi kills Momonga in the fight with Momonga, then the reminder of only catch alive has to be removed. Jun suspects that Rifan wants to force Vivi to kill Momonga, a Marine Vice Admiral, so that Vivi can fully integrate into the Black Pearl. However, Rifan hasn't become Shishibukai yet, so it shouldn't be so absolute. Could it be that he just wanted Vivi to seriously injure Momonga, so that Marines and the world government can judge Princess Vivi as a dangerous person and create a reminder to get Vivi's bounty off only the live ones? While Jun was thinking in her heart, the color of thinking flashed in her eyes. Rifan noticed Jun's expression, and naturally knew that Jun was running her brain crazily again. You're smart, Jun. But sometimes thinking too much may not necessarily help you. Rifan patted Jun's shoulder and said meaningfully. Is that so? Then what's your answer, Rifan? Can I substitute Vice Admiral Momonga? Jun asked. No. Why not? It's a secret. Rifan, is there any danger in this competition? Do you want to intentionally hurt Princess Vivi? How come? I won't harm Vivi. As I said, you're thinking too complicated, Jun. But if you fight, serious injuries are also possible. Is that so? That means that Princess Vivi may seriously injure Momonga Vice Admiral, right? Sure enough, I should replace Momonga. Jun said firmly. She understood that if it was her against Vivi, there should be a lot more guarantees in terms of safety. After all, she still has value for Rifan now. And her body is this value. Not far away, Anne watched the dispute between Rifan and Jun, and for a moment she didn't even notice that the Denden Mushi in her hand had been connected. For some reason, the person on the other side of the Denden Mushi did not interrupt the conversation between Rifan and Jun. Rifan took a deep look at Jun, and after a while, he chuckled and put his head next to Jun's ear. And whisper in a voice only two can hear. If you want to replace Momonga, then let's make an agreement. As long as you stay with me once, do something with me that Hina did. Then I promise you. When Jun heard this, the image of Rifan and Hina entangled with each other immediately appeared in her mind. In an instant, her breathing became hurried. Rifan patted Jun on the shoulder and continued. You won't say yes, right, Jun? Don't worry, the reason why I chose Momonga as Vivi's opponent is simply to make him a sharpening stone for Vivi. I wanted Vivi to quickly master the techniques I taught her earlier by actually fighting enemies. Fighting is not training, it will make you bleed. I'd rather have Momonga Vice Admiral bleed than make you bleed. Momonga, at number $%. At this moment, Momonga twitched the corners of its mouth fiercely, and the foul language in his heart could not help but burst out. Jun raised her eyebrows and looked at Rifan with interest. So, should I thank you, Rifan? I don't care, but if you insist on thanking me, I can accept it. Then how do you want me to thank you? Jun, you know what I want. Rifan, you also know that I can't be sincere. So you'd better back off, Jun. Don't worry, Vice Admiral Momonga won't die, at most he'll be seriously injured. With me and Chopper, he won't die. Rifan said, turned to look at Momonga, said. Well, let's let the guy answer for himself. Let's see if he's willing to accept. After Rifan finished speaking, Jun also involuntarily turned to look at Momonga. I agree, please rest assured, Jun Vice Admiral, I will pay attention to safety. At this moment, Momonga was already aroused by Rifan's words. Even if he didn't show it on his face, deep down in his heart he wanted to teach Rifan a lesson. And the way he wants to teach Rifan a lesson is to defeat Princess Vivi with his own means. As expected of Vice Admiral Momonga, you are really brave. Rifan clapped his hands before Jun could speak. Then he looked in the direction of Anne and said with a smile. But before the competition, let's hear what Mr. Zephyr, who is across from our Denden Mushi, has to say. After Rifan's voice fell, Anne remembered that she had dialed Zephyr's number earlier. She looked down and found that a pair of eyes on the phone were staring at herself. The appearance of the Den Mushi also imitated Zephyr for deformation. She understood that the call had been put through by Zephyr. Zephyr-sensei. Anne murmured. It's me, Anne. Tell me, what happened to you? Why are you guys with Rifan? Did he do anything to you? And you, Rifan, tell me. What are you going to do to my disciples? Opposite the Den Mushi, Zephyr's extremely majestic voice came over. Chapter 285, Zephyr wanted to eat someone. Confronted by Zephyr, Rifan didn't express anything. After seeing Rifan did not stop her from talking to Zephyr. Then she briefly and quickly told Zephyr what happened after they chased the marine trader Gasparde and encountered the Black Pearl pirates. Opposite the Den Mushi, Zephyr, who was heading towards naval headquarters on his own ship, frowned more and more. He never imagined that temporarily handing over the management of the marine guerrillas to Shizo and Momanga would allow his cherished students to encounter the Black Pearl pirates. And depending on the situation, Rifan doesn't seem to plan to bring them back yet. There was even a plan to inflict more injuries on Momanga. Thinking about it, Zephyr's brow furrowed deeply. Rifan, don't forget your current situation. If you want to be a Shishibukai, don't do anything stupid. I advise you, let Anne and the others go now. There's no need for them to stay with you until you become a Shishibukai. Zephyr said with a serious face. Through his old friend Tsuru, Zephyr has a fairly full understanding of Rifan's liking for women. His student Anne, although young, may not be as attractive as Hina and Jun. But also a good woman. So Zephyr is worried. If Anne stays with Rifan, she will be bullied by Rifan. Zephyr felt that Rifan even planned to seriously injure Momanga. Then the possibility of him bullying Anne is naturally higher. Hearing Zephyr's words, Rifan laughed. What you said makes sense. However, Zephyr, the marine guerrilla ship that Gasparde snatched has been destroyed. And Momanga Vice Admiral and Captain Shizo's ship were also destroyed. Even if I let them go now, they won't be able to find a suitable way to leave in this vast sea. Not to mention that your students Anne and Bins are devil fruit users. If I send them off the ship now, the probability of their death is too great. Zephyr, I'm giving them a ride on my Black Pearl for free now, isn't that considered a favor? Rifan also plans to use Anne and Bins to force Zephyr to meet him. Of course he couldn't just let Anne and the others leave like this. If possible, he even planned to let Zephyr personally come to the Devil's Triangle Sea territory after he defeated Moria. In this way, he can exchange the related rewards of copy space by defeating Zephyr, the legendary veteran of Marine, more quickly. Rifan, doesn't your Black Pearl have a lifeboat? Zephyr asked dully. Of course there are, but I'm not obliged to lend you Marine, am I? Rifan's words made Zephyr even more depressed. After thinking for a while, he said seriously. In that case, tell me your location, and I will arrange for someone to pick you up right now. The marine guerrillas are very large, and they own more than 2 ships. And generally marine guerrillas operate in groups. Zephyr believes that since Momanga and Gaspard's ship will appear near the Black Pearl, then the other marine guerrilla ships will be not far away. However, Rifan's answer was to ask the forensic doctor. Sorry, Zephyr. I'm in a hurry now, and I don't have any free time to wait for your people to arrive. If you have something else to do, I think we can wrap up our chat. Anyway, Anne and the others have already reported to you that they are safe. Miss Anne, can I trouble you to hang up the Den Mushi? Rifan said, looked at Anne with a smile on his face, and pointed to the Den Mushi in her hand. Anne naturally didn't want to hang up the call right now. She held the Den Mushi tightly between her hands, and took 2 steps back nervously, trying to stay away from the smiling Rifan. Zephyr on the opposite side of the Den Mushi also became nervous after hearing Rifan's words. Rifan, you bastard, don't mess around. Zephyr, when did I mess around? Don't frame me or I'll sue you for defamation. Since you have no intention of messing around, why don't you hand over Anne and the others? Don't tell me you want to take action against Anne. How come? Zephyr, I respect you as a hero, but isn't it unkind of you to frame me like this? Then you can stay where you are and wait for our people to pick them up, or give Anne and the others a lifeboat. Forget it, we've already talked about this issue before. Then what do you want to do, Rifan? It's impossible to let Anne and the others stay on your Black Pearl, right? Why not? Well, let me make a suggestion. Zephyr, it's better for Anne and the others to wait with Hina and Jun to go back to your naval headquarters together. Rifan, do you really want to take my students hostage? I just don't want to waste time, after all, I will be able to complete the agreement with you Marine soon. Hey! Are you already going to defeat Shishibukai? Rifan's words immediately reminded Zephyr of the Shishibukai agreement. That's right. I won't say much, Zephyr. Don't worry, you don't have to wait too long. After Rifan finished speaking, he didn't wait for Anne's response. His body turned into an afterimage and passed by Anne's side. Wait until Anne reacts. The Den Mushi in her hand has come to Rifan's hand, and the call has been hung up. Okay, the call time is over. I will keep this Den Mushi for the time being. So Miss Anne, you won't worry about it. Rifan showed Anne an extremely caring smile in her eyes. And Anne also showed a look of fear. This made Rifan a little helpless. After all, if possible, he would also like to chat with Anne about life, massage, and other things. However, Anne has always had such an expression, which made Rifan a little bit reluctant to make contact. After much deliberation, he can only think about the business first. Let's go, Vice Admiral Momanga. In this room, even if you want to use your ability, you won't be able to use it. After we go to the deck, it's not too late for you to fight with Vivi. Rifan turned around, looked at Momanga and said with a smile on his face. This is your territory, so naturally you have the final say on what to do. But Rifan, I'm still injured. You're not going to let me fight Princess Vivi just like this? Momanga asked, frowning. Chapter 286, Vivi's Battle. Grand Line. On the sea, a marine warship sailed rapidly towards naval headquarters. At the bow of the ship, Zephyr was dialing the Den Mushi with a gloomy face. After a while, a familiar voice came from the other side of the call. This is Sengoku. Zephyr, is your mission complete? Sengoku asked. Mission accomplished, Sengoku. That's good. Why has my student been captured? Hey? Your student was captured? Is it Anne and Binz? Who else but them? But, I don't understand. Zephyr, didn't Momanga temporarily take over your job at the Marine Guerrillas? How did Anne and Binz get caught? That marine trader Gasparde is naturally impossible to be the opponent of Momanga, but they met Rifan on the way to pursue Gasparde. Rifan. Wait, you mean that guy Rifan caught Anne and the others? That's right, I spoke to that guy, and he didn't even intend to let Anne and the others go. As Zephyr said, he told Sengoku exactly what he heard from Rifan. He knew that Sengoku was always in charge of Rifan's affairs. Now it can be said that only Sengoku has a way to quickly fish Anne out of Rifan's hands. Putting Binz aside, he is a man after all. No matter how horny Rifan is, it is impossible for him to lay hands on a man. But Anne is a woman. Zephyr became more and more worried about Anne's situation when he thought of Tsuru's disclosure of Rifan's situation. It turned out that Anne and the others met Rifan by chance. The sea area they are in should be closer to that guy Moria. So, is Rifan's goal really Moria? Sengoku rested his chin on one hand and muttered. Sengoku, that's not the important thing, is it? Aren't we talking about Anne? Zephyr's muffled voice came from across the Den Mushi. Zephyr, don't worry, I will contact Rifan later. He still wants to be a Shishibukai, so he won't do anything excessive. And didn't you say that Rifan is going to have a contest between Momanga and Princess Vivi of Alabasta? Perhaps Momanga, Anne, and the others, staying with Rifan temporarily can help us understand Rifan and Rifan's partners better. Sengoku comforted. Having said that, Sengoku quickly took out other Den Mushi and dialed the Den Mushi of Jun held by Rifan. It's a pity that no matter how loud the Den Mushi sounded, the Den Mushi couldn't be connected. For a moment, Sengoku's brows also furrowed tightly. Zephyr received Sengoku's reply, and his already unhappy mood became even more focused. What Sengoku and Zephyr don't know is, Rifan had expected that Sengoku would call. So he put the Den Mushi in his room long ago. Rifan will answer it when he is free. The other side. The Black Pearl, deck. At the center. Vivi held the famous sword given to her by Rifan and fought with Vice Admiral Momanga. There was a constant sound of metal clashing between the two. I didn't expect Princess Vivi to use the sword to such an extent. Did you teach her that, Rifan? Jun stood beside Rifan and asked. Rifan shrugged and smiled. Admitting it without saying anything. But you didn't say that what you taught her was swordsmanship. Since Vivi can use the sword to this extent. Originally, I thought you would teach her to practice a certain kind of hand-to-hand combat technique. Jun sighed. It's no wonder, after all, in her cognition, what Rifan is good at is hand-to-hand combat. As for swordsmanship, although Rifan has used swords before. But from what Jun saw, Rifan used a sword as if he were using a baseball bat. In Jun's mind, Rifan should know little about swords. Rifan, since Princess Vivi can use a sword, you must also be able to use a sword. Although Vivi's swordsmanship is still a little immature, it can already be called a qualified swordsman. Since that's the case, Rifan, your sword skills should be stronger. Can you tell me how well you have practiced the way of sword? Could it be that your understanding of swords comes from the previous competition with me in the capital of Water 7? Jun laughed. At this time, she has almost completely regarded Rifan's invitation to fight her in the capital of Water 7 as Rifan's plan to learn swordsmanship. Not everyone knows that Rifan simply wants to complete the copy space achievement. In order to get rich rewards. If you want to know, just pay the reward. Rifan stretched out his hand and raised Jun's chin, and said with a light smile. You are really thinking about rewards all the time, and you are targeting me. Jun sighed and didn't ask any more questions. She took a step back a little, avoiding Rifan's hand on her chin. At this time, Nami came over with a curious face. Rifan, Vivi's appearance has changed a bit. How should I put it, I always feel that she is a bit too mature now. Did you put some kind of ointment on her? If yes, can you give me that medicine as well? Nami skillfully put her hand over Rifan's neck, and said with bright eyes. Obviously, for beauty-loving Nami. The changes in the current Vivi also have a strong appeal to her. Unfortunately Nami, the changes in Vivi's body did not come from the ointments and ointments I made. It came from the power of a devil fruit. Rifan shook his head. For his partner, he did not hide this. But of course, he wouldn't directly name the devil fruit that Vivi ate with marines around them. Sure enough, after hearing that Vivi ate a certain devil fruit, Jun, Shouzo and the others all looked over curiously. No wonder, so far. The devil fruit eaten by every member of the Black Pearl Pirates showed terrifying power. What makes them even more afraid is that Rifan is likely to be able to use the power of the devil fruit that Vivi ate. In the cognition of Jun and others, there is no Weem devil fruit users among the Black Pearl Pirates. This also shows that Rifan may have more and more terrifying power. Well, that's really a pity. Nami shook her head regretfully, and looked at Vivi enviously. Not only her, but Robin, Makita and others also felt slightly regretful. Both of them have the same thoughts as Nami, hoping to become more attractive and attract Rifan. Speaking of which Nami, I have something for you. As Rifan said that, he raised his hand and touched the tattoo of the Black Pearl Pirates on Nami's arm. Just as Nami was puzzled, she felt a familiar burning sensation coming from the pirate tattoo on her arm. Panda Rifan, you use the primary observation Haki awakening scroll on your navigator Nami. Nami's personal attributes have been refreshed, please check it yourself. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Nami. Crew number, 03. Position, Navigator, Master, New. Physical, 47,158. Physical level, A level. Devil Fruit, Thunder Fruit, 2. Other skills, Germa 66 Exoskeleton. Special abilities, Junior Armament Haki, Junior Observation Haki. Loyalty, 100, Life and Death go hand in hand. Reward, 230 million berry. Rifan, your personal talent Strengthen the Crew, Equal Return has been activated. It is detected that you already have Advanced Observation Haki, this time the enhancement of the Elementary Observation Haki Awakening Scroll has been turned into 500 physical points. Your personal attribute has been refreshed, please check it yourself. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Rifan. Age, 25 years old. Position, Captain. Talent, Strengthen the Crew, Equal Return to the Factory. Points, 1000 points. Physical, 114,601 points. Physical level, SS level. Devil Fruit, Dark Fruit. Rifan, this is... Rifan extended his index finger to Nami's red lips who were about to speak. And turned his head in the direction of Jun, An, Shouzo and others. I see, thank you. After Nami glanced at Jun and the others, she smiled softly. Then she stood on tiptoe, leaving a faint lip mark on Rifan's face regardless of the presence of Makita and others. That thief! Seeing this, Makita couldn't help showing envy, and looked at Nami jealousy. Now you know how cunning she is. Makita, you have to be careful. That woman steals even a woman's man. Karina stood beside Makita and fanned the flames. Not to mention that when Rifan helped her strengthen before, she even offered a tongue for Rifan. Beside Rifan, Jun looked at Nami suspiciously. Just now, her sixth sense as a woman made her feel that Rifan did something to Nami. And with Nami, something has changed. However, even if she wanted to break her head, she couldn't know that it was just a few seconds ago. Nami has already awakened her observation haki. At the same time, her navigation skills have also taken a firm step towards the master level. Rifan, Momanga Vice Admiral is still wounded. Isn't it inappropriate for him to fight Princess Vivi like this? At this time, Anne summoned up her courage and asked Rifan. Originally, she thought that the battle between Momanga and Vivi was just a simple battle. After all, Vivi has not shown such a powerful force in Marine's sight until now. And the power of the Vice Admiral is easy to see. Even if he is seriously injured, Momanga can show strong combat effectiveness. But the fact is that Princess Vivi has been fighting Momonaz for a long time now, and she still hasn't lost. Vivi is even becoming more and more proficient in swordsmanship. And Vivi has not yet demonstrated the ability of Devil Fruit that Rifan said earlier. This made Anne feel a little worried about the situation of Momanga. Of course Momanga needs to be injured. If he didn't get injured, wouldn't Vivi have no way to sharpen herself? Rifan laughed. What do you mean by that? Rifan's words made Shozo frown immediately, and once again looked a little impatient. It's very simple, I just want the weak Momanga to fight Vivi. In terms of swordsmanship alone, I know Vivi is no match for him. The current state of Momanga is very suitable to serve as a sharpening stone for Vivi. Rifan said without hesitation. When his voice fell, a flame suddenly ignited where Vivi and Momanga were fighting. The eyes of Jun and the others were immediately attracted. That is. Vivi's situation made Jun already watch it attentively. Foxfire flow. Vivi took a deep breath, and the long sword in her hand suddenly ignited a hot flame. This made Momanga, who was about to use his brute force to suppress Vivi, feel nervous, and instinctively took 2 steps back. Rifan asked him to duel with Vivi, he was already very afraid. He knew that with Rifan's character, if Vivi's strength was not up to par, he would never let Vivi fight him. Now that he has done this, Vivi definitely has some powerful power. At this moment, he saw raging flames burning on the sword in Vivi's hand. How could Momanga not become more and more alert? Having said that, when Vivi strikes, he found that with his current state, there was no way to jump or block in time. Fire flow. As Vivi's voice fell, her figure turned into a flash of lightning, quickly grazing towards the location of Momanga. Momanga widened his eyes, and only had time to swing his sword towards Vivi's arm. The next moment, Vivi's extremely fast figure had already come behind him. Pooh! An arc-shaped flame suddenly flashed from the chest of Momanga. Then, there was a sword wound popping out of Momanga's chest. Before the blood from his wound could flow out, it was evaporated by the scorching flames. The arc-shaped flames expanded rapidly, engulfing Momanga in an instant. Suddenly, Momanga directly turned into a burning man. Chapter 287, The Achievement of Defeating Commodore for the First Time. Momanga. Shozo, who was standing there sullenly, turned pale with fright when he saw Momanga surrounded by flames. Instinctively, his body swung his fist at Vivi that had previously slashed at Momanga. Seeing this, Rifan frowned immediately. This is the test he prepared for Vivi, and Shozo's forced insertion naturally made him quite unhappy. Jun was keenly aware of Rifan's displeasure. However, even if she wants to stop Shozo, but her body couldn't stop Shozo because of the anesthetic. Hina's strength is much weaker than Shozo's, and naturally she doesn't have this ability. However, although Rifan was unhappy, he didn't intend to stop Shozo. After all, Vivi has now successfully ignited a flame on the sword blade. This also shows that Vivi has mastered the Foxfire stream. Rifan glanced at Vivi's panel, the minister of the drawing technique of Firefox style among the kendo skills. The word unfinished has been cancelled. On this point, it is enough to make Rifan feel relieved. Of course, the more important point is because Rifan knows The current Shouzo is simply impossible to be Vivi's opponent. Even though Vivi has now lost some of his strength from fighting Momonga. Shave. Shouzo used one of the Marine 6 styles to quickly come behind Vivi, and the clenched fist hit Vivi's back directly. A red light flashed in Vivi's eyes, observation haki keenly caught Shouzo's attack. She turned her body back quickly, and her left palm met Shouzo's fist. Successful. Seeing that Vivi didn't use her sword or even armament haki to defend herself against his attack, Shouzo smiled involuntarily. At this moment, he had already forgotten that he was on the Black Pearl. However, just when he thought he was going to knock Vivi into the air, he suddenly found that the fist he hit on Vivi's palm was as if it hadn't touched the real thing. To be precise, it was as if it had touched extremely smooth soap, and it was directly slashed aside. In addition, his body also lost its balance and swayed to one side. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Vivi waved the long sword with flames and slashed at Shouzo's abdomen. Pooh! A firework flashed by, and immediately there was a wound on Shouzo's abdomen that almost cut him off. You! Shouzo clutched his abdomen, stepped back 2 steps, and looked at Vivi, who had a calm face in horror. He never thought that Vivi could react in such a quick time, and even counterattack him. Just when he was about to speak, the flames from his wound erupted violently. Like Momonga, he was enveloped in flames. Powerful slashing, scorching power, plus Rifan's previous electric shock. Shouzo could no longer maintain his consciousness this time, and passed out completely. Notice. Rifan achieved the achievement The Reincarnation, who defeated Naval Headquarters Commodore for the first time, and the special reward is Junior Armament Haki Awakening Scroll. Rifan was a little stunned by the sudden copy space notice. Interesting, I almost forgot this Marine guerrilla captain named Shouzo was also a Naval Headquarters Commodore. Fortunately, Vivi stunned this guy. Otherwise, the first achievement reward will slip away. Rifan thought happily. Although he used the power of Thunder Fruit to knock Shouzo to the ground earlier. But because he didn't use too much force, Shouzo didn't faint. This also made copy space not judge that Rifan defeated Shouzo. Rifan, let her stop. Jun grabbed Rifan's hand in a panic and said seriously. Don't worry, Vivi has successfully mastered the sword technique I taught her. The training is over. Actually, if that guy didn't make a sudden attack, I would have stopped Vivi too. So it's entirely his own fault that he is like that. Rifan shrugged, turned his head to look at the combination of Chopper and Frankie not far away, and nodded to them. The two nodded their heads in understanding, one carrying a box, an AK gun walked over. Anne and Binz, who were worried about Momonga and Shouzo, naturally followed up to help. Although Jun and Hina didn't step forward, they kept watching the situation of Shouzo and Momonga. The announcement of the copy space doubled the barrage in Rifan's live broadcast room. At the same time, Ayane and Kazumi, who were cooperating with Nojiko in refining drinks from themselves in Nojiko's room, also heard the reminder of the copy space. The two looked at each other and couldn't help standing up at the same time. You two, what's the matter? Nojiko had just put a large bottle of drink into the refrigerator beside her, when she saw the surprised faces of the two of them. Nothing, I just think I can almost leave. Ayana knew Rifan's power, although she was a little surprised by the reminder of the copy space. But after thinking of Rifan's strength, she calmed down. In addition, she was a little tired of cooperating with Nojiko and being in front of Kazumi now. So she is eager to get out of here. That's not a problem. Miss Ayane, your body has already returned to its original state. No matter how I shoot it, there won't be more milk coming out. Miss Kazumi, on the other hand, you have to wait for a while before we can continue. Nojiko took off the gloves on her hands and said with a smile on her face. When Ayane and Kazumi heard Nojiko's words, they immediately began to put on their own clothes. In less than a minute, the two left Nojiko's door and walked towards the deck of the Black Pearl. They're really anxious. Nojiko smiled and shook her head, then adjusted her appearance, and quickly followed the footsteps of Ayane and Kazumi. Momonga, are you all right? Jun squatted on the ground, looked at Momonga Vice Admiral who had lost his hair and beard, and asked worriedly. Don't worry, Jun Vice Admiral, I won't die. And you're right, Dr. Chopper of the Black Pearl Pirates is very skilled in medicine. No wonder Rifan has the confidence to let Princess Vivi kill me to sharpen her sword skills. Again, Princess Vivi's swordsmanship can control fire. There is indeed something in there. Jun Vice Admiral, this Vivi Princess has such sword skills. Then, doesn't Rifan also master this kind of swordsmanship? Momanga first looked at Chopper who was treating Shuzo, and then rubbed his wound and said to Jun. It's good that you're fine. As for whether Rifan knows swordsmanship, don't think about it for now. Take good care of your wounds, and persuade Shuzo by the way. Even if Chopper can heal you. If you continue to be injured, it may also leave the root of the disease on your body. Jun raised her hand and patted Momanga's shoulder, got up and walked towards Rifan who was talking with Vivi about her previous sword fighting experience. You're amazing, Princess Vivi. To be able to use the sword to such an extent in such a short time. You must have worked very hard, as a teacher, Rifan must have taught you a lot. Jun clapped her hands and came up to Rifan and Vivi. With that relaxed tone, it was as if she didn't care about the wounds of her fellow marine, Momo Naz and Shuzo at all. Jun, you don't need to talk to Vivi like that. I can tell you the truth. I can also do the foxfire sword technique that Vivi uses. Rifan took the sword from Vivi's hand, and with a flick of his hand, the blade was covered with raging flames. Seeing this, a gleam flashed in Jun's eyes immediately. Vivi was able to defeat a marine at the naval headquarters Commodore level in an instant using the foxfire sword technique. If Rifan were to use the same sword technique, its power would definitely be even greater. At this time, Jun still didn't know that foxfire's swordsmanship had a powerful special attack against fire-related powers. Even if it is the blast heat of the Four Emperors Kaido, a swordsman who uses the foxfire style and has corresponding strength can easily cut it open. If Jun knew, she would be even more surprised, and her evaluation of Rifan would be higher. Rifan, can you tell me when you learned to use a sword? Jun, what illusion makes you think I can't use a sword? If you know how to use a sword, why do you swing your sword like a stick when you fight a golden lion? Why didn't you use your sword skill to fight golden lion? Why can't the sword be swung like a stick? This is also a way to use it, isn't it? As for dealing with the golden lion, using fists to deal with him is also a way to use it, isn't it? If you say it like that, your sword will cry. But to deal with golden lion with your fists, your boxing skills are indeed powerful. Shouldn't it be that your sword skills and boxing skills are also equally powerful? Thinking of Rifan's powerful martial arts ability when he was dealing with golden lion, especially the powerful fishman karate technique, Jun couldn't stop imagining the picture of Rifan using a sword in her mind. Thinking of how Rifan can also use swords in martial arts, as a swordsman, she couldn't help but ignited an obsession with Rifan in her heart. That is the persistence of a powerful swordsman to challenge another powerful swordsman. Want to know? How about we have a good chat at night? Rifan put his head close to Jun's ear and spoke softly. After finishing speaking, Rifan sniffed the fragrance of Jun's body, chuckled and breathed hot air in Jun's ear. Jun could let go, and didn't back away blushing because of Rifan's teasing. Instead, she turned her head to look at Rifan with a sigh. Rifan, you really are showing your true nature more and more. Really? Yes, you were quite tactful when we first met. We met for the first time. I got up first, in the desert of Alabasta, right? Didn't I want to act at that time? It's not just that time. When we met later, although your gaze was extremely aggressive, you still had reservations in your actions and language. In terms of your attitude towards women. It's really true when you say that I think, maybe Miss Jun, you are too attractive. Or, is it because we're familiar now? Rifan put his hand on the shoulder of Jun who was a head taller than himself, and said with a light smile. Since we are familiar, would you like to talk to me about your understanding of swords? Not at night, but now. Jun also chuckled twice, and put her hand on Rifan's shoulder. This one is difficult. My comprehension of swords is a bit too complicated. It's hard to tell during the day. Rifan chuckled and shook his head. Having said that, Rifan couldn't help but compare his strength in martial arts and swordsmanship. He possesses the power of swordsmanship such as Odin's Two Swords style, Foxfire style, and Roger Divine Departure. Rifan thinks that in terms of swords, his ability is not inferior to that of martial arts. Comparing the two, it can only be said that each has its own advantages, and each has its own advantages and disadvantages. I said, you're pretty much a woman. If you want to get something out of this man Rifan, let go of your pride. If you are not willing to invest more benefits, in this case, you won't be able to dig anything out. It's better not to do actions that are purely a waste of time. Give me Rifan. I have something to talk to him about. At this time, the voice of Bonnie rang in the ears of Jun and Rifan. Then, without waiting for Jun to do something. Then she felt that Rifan, who was held by her, was pulled away by a force. She turned her head just in time to see Bonnie talking to the wind. "I say, my dear Captain Rifan. You even taught Vivi how to use the sword. Shouldn't you also consider how to teach me?" Bonnie spoke up. Chapter 288, Arriving at the Devil's Triangle Sea area. "I said, you're pretty much a woman. If you want to get something out of this man Rifan, let go of your pride. If you are not willing to invest more benefits, in this case, you won't be able to dig anything out. It's better not to do actions that are purely a waste of time. Give me Rifan. I have something to talk to him about." At this time, the voice of Bonnie rang in the ears of Jun and Rifan. Then, without waiting for Jun to do something, then she felt that Rifan, who was held by her, was pulled away by a force. She turned her head just in time to see Bonnie talking to the wind. "I say, my dear Captain Rifan. You even taught Vivi how to use swordsmanship. Shouldn't you also consider how to teach me?" Bonnie spoke up. "Do you also want to learn taijutsu or swordsmanship?" Rifan looked at Bonnie in front of him and asked with interest. "Who doesn't want to become stronger? If I can become stronger, of course I want to learn both kendo and taijutsu. And since you let me board your ship, Rifan, you must be responsible to me. You can't just think about guiding other people to train while ignoring me, right?" Bonnie held on to Rifan's collar tightly, and looked at Rifan tightly with her eyes squinted. Just like what the Blue Star audience said. After Bonnie saw the crew of the Black Pearl become stronger one by one, she did have a sense of urgency in her heart. Especially after seeing the crew members who joined the Black Pearl become stronger. "Responsible? Are you asking me to marry you, Bonnie? TL/N. FBI, open up. You really don't forget to take advantage anytime and anywhere, pervert." "Haha, I'm just kidding. I don't think Bonnie, with her heart as big as her appetite, would mind." "I don't care if you mind or not, now tell me when you will teach me." Bonnie grabbed Rifan's collar with one hand and Rifan's waist with the other. It is clear that if Rifan does not agree she won't let him go. "Don't worry, since you are willing to learn, I will teach you naturally. It's better to say, when the time is right, I will teach you. Because you had to steer the rudder, you didn't have time so I didn't bother you. Now that you've taken the initiative, of course it's not a problem so for the next period of time, you can hand over the ship to others first so you can follow me to train well for a period of time." Rifan laughed. After speaking, Rifan also took a look at the sea area where the Black Pearl was sailing at the moment. Just with the naked eye, Rifan can already see the sea area shrouded in darkness in the distance. Obviously, the Devil's Triangle Sea area where Moria is located is coming. Rifan also knew that Bonnie's father, Kuma, would be there. Rifan felt that he had to make Bonnie strong enough before Bonnie saw the Kuma again. In this way, Kuma can give Bonnie to him with more confidence. Likewise, Rifan might be able to get some value out of Kuma through Bonnie. Among other things, just the ability to replicate Kuma Devil Fruit ability through Clone Fruit is enough to attract Rifan. However, it is a little too late in time. Even if Bonnie is very talented, it is impossible to master a certain martial arts skill or take a glimpse of a skill in a very short period of time. To quickly improve Bonnie's strength, in addition to guiding her in training, Bonnie has to be strengthened through the points and enhancements provided by the copy space. Rifan thought to himself, and looked up at the points and item bar on his personal panel, as well as Bonnie's personal attribute list. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Jewelry Bonnie. Age, 22 years old. Crew number, 06. Position, Helmsman, Excellent. Physical, 18,033. Physical level, B level. Devil Fruit, Age Fruit. Other skills, Germa 66 Exoskeleton. Special ability, None. Loyalty, 70, Close Friend. Bounty, 43 million berry. Her physique has only reached the B-level level, and my points are only more than 108,000 points. Although it has the support of the Germa 66 Exoskeleton, the Fruit of Age is not weak. But without awakening, Bonnie is indeed a bit weak now. Sure enough, I still need to get the last wave of support. On the Black Pearl, even the non-combatant Karina has stronger personal attributes than the current Bonnie. At this moment, even Rifan felt a little ashamed. Thinking here, Rifan quickly fixed his sights on the 1000 points on his personal attribute list and the elementary armament Haki awakening scroll he obtained not long ago. In that case, why not leave the helm to me for now? At this time, Vivi put her hand on her chest, and volunteered to say. Vivi, are you in such a hurry to leave the pool training ground? As your captain and teacher, I feel a little sad. Rifan looked at Vivi, with a hint of resentment in his eyes. No, you misunderstood, Rifan. Vivi waved her hands again and said in a panic. Don't worry Vivi, the captain is just joking with you. Look at him, how happy he is smiling. Nojiko just came out of the cabin and said next to Vivi with a chuckle, and her right hand also swept across Vivi's face. Vivi immediately raised her head when she heard the words, and she saw the teasing smile on Rifan's face. However, she soon remembered that Nojiko had touched her face with her right hand earlier. Thinking that Nojiko might change into her appearance and make out with Rifan, she immediately blushed and faced Nojiko to complain. She intends to use words to persuade Nojiko not to use her own body to do that kind of thing with Rifan. It's just that what Vivi doesn't understand is that in order to make Rifan happy, Nojiko will not agree to her request. Vivi can increase the rank of dancer through slippery fruits. I don't know if there is a devil fruit that can increase the rank of Bonnie's helmsman. Rifan looked at the backs of Vivi and Nojiko chasing each other, and couldn't help thinking in his heart. His mind was running fast, images of different devil fruits effects and users kept popping up in his mind. Soon, the figure of Shishibukai Doflamingo was fixed in his mind. String fruit. That Doflamingo guy can use string fruit to manipulate objects from space, and even manipulate people. And that guy is also able to use string fruit to make clones. If Bonnie eats string fruit, she can remotely control the rudder of the boat. In this way, her position level as a helmsman should also be improved accordingly. Rifan stroked his chin and thought. Even so, Rifan also understands. Even the power of string fruit can bring Bonnie one step closer in the ranks. But it is impossible to upgrade Bonnie's helmsman level of master level just by relying on string fruit. To really make Bonnie's helmsman level reach the master level, it probably needs Bonnie to have excellent sailing skills and excellent observation haki. If she has the observation haki that can predict the future, her ability to control the rudder will definitely improve a lot. What are you thinking, my captain? Since Vivi is willing to take the helm, shall we begin? Bonnie patted Rifan's shoulder vigorously, calling Rifan back from thinking. Well, although the time may be a bit rushed. But let's give it a try and see if you can quickly master a certain martial arts skill or kendo ability. Rifan smiled at Bonnie, and then raised his eyes to the dark sea area of the Devil's Triangle that was getting closer and closer in the distance. Then what are you waiting for? Let's get started. Do you want to find a place to practice in the cabin? As Bonnie said, she took Rifan's hand and walked towards the cabin. When Jun, Momanga and other marines saw this scene, they couldn't help but flashed a bright light in their eyes. They also had a strong desire to watch how Rifan taught his crew to become stronger. Especially Momanga, who was defeated by Vivi before, and Shozo, who was almost killed by Vivi directly. Rifan said that he would teach Bonnie some kind of martial arts skills or some kind of kendo skills. That is to say, this guy has mastered many kinds of swordsmanship? Only Jun frowned slightly, while thinking in her heart. Assuming of Rifan's ability to master a variety of martial arts, Jun felt that it is not impossible for Rifan to master a variety of swordsmanship. On Bonnie's side, as soon as she took 2 steps, Buggy stopped in front of Rifan. Hey, get out of the way, Red Nose. Bonnie is looking forward to Rifan helping her improve her strength at the moment, so seeing Buggy blocking their way, her tone naturally not be so nice. Buggy, our Red Nose. You woman. Bonnie, hey. Buggy, and nothing. Bonnie frowned, and Buggy immediately thought of the horror of the Black Pearl pirates, and quickly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and smiled shyly at Bonnie. Having said that, he did not forget his purpose of blocking the way. He looked at Rifan and said quickly. Rifan, although we get along very well. But I think it's time for us to say goodbye. And I plan to take Ayani and leave now. As he spoke, Buggy looked timidly at the dark sea not far away. Apparently, Buggy didn't want to follow Rifan into that dark, dangerous sea with his own crew of pirates. Of course, this danger is only for the Buggy pirates. For Rifan, the Devil's Triangle is not a threat. Chapter 289, The Slavery Contract. Black Pearl. Deck. If you want to leave, just leave. You have ships anyway, don't you? It's just that I didn't expect that we would part so soon. Thinking about it, I really feel a little regretful. Rifan shrugged and said with a little regret. Regret? Buggy blinked, a little surprised by what Rifan said. But soon, he smiled happily. Ha ha ha, I think so too. Rifan, when I first met you, I felt that we were very speculative. If it wasn't for our other arrangements, I wouldn't want to be separated from you so soon. Buggy put his hands on his hips, and the more he talked, the more excited he became. To be honest, he really didn't want to break up so soon. After all, staying with Rifan, they do not need to worry about the Marine's pursuit to a certain extent. It's just that the legend of the Devil's Triangle Sea area is too terrifying, and there are ghosts and zombies in the legend. As a coward, he really didn't dare to take his own people to sail into the Devil's Triangle Sea area. While laughing, Buggy took a special look at Jun, Hina, and the others. It's like saying, Buggy, is Rifan's friend, so you Marines will treat me like Rifan, Buggy-sama from now on. However, he didn't notice at all. When Rifan said the word regret, he didn't look at him. Instead, he looked at Ayana who was walking from the side and said. As expected of Captain Buggy, he was able to make that black mist Rifan say such a thing. Captain Buggy is so powerful, even Rifan, who offered a reward of 1 billion berry, was impressed by his charm. Now I'm more and more grateful that I can join the Buggy Pirates. Apparently, the rest of the Buggy Pirates also misunderstood what Rifan meant. They raised their hands and cheered. You misunderstood, Buggy. I have no regrets about breaking up with you or anything. It's Ayana who makes me feel sorry for parting with. After Rifan glanced at Buggy, he turned his head to look at Ayana who walked up to him. After the words fell, Buggy petrified on the spot. He even began to worry that Rifan would not let Ayana leave the Black Pearl. In this way, he will lose a reliable helper. But fortunately, Ayana's answer soon let him breathe a sigh of relief. The separation is only temporary, I think we will meet again later, Rifan. Ayana raised her head, looked up at Rifan, and said. She had no problem with Buggy's suggestion to leave. Originally, she came here to give the devil fruit to Rifan and to use Rifan's influence to prevent the marine guerrillas from arresting them. Now the devil fruit has been handed over successfully. The marine guerrillas were also captured by Rifan. So now is the time to leave. I hope it won't be too long before we meet. Rifan patted Ayani on the shoulder, then turned to look at Kazumi. And you, miss? Your captain was killed by me. You should be free now. How about it, just make up your mind whether you want it or not. Come to work on my ship. Don't worry, I will give you a good salary. Hearing this, Kazumi looked at Rifan's face, then at Ayana's face, and finally shook her head. Not yet, Rifan. If possible, I want to leave with Ayani and his crew. In Kazumi's view, Rifan is the reincarnator of another country after all. And Rifan was unwilling to terminate the contract with Ayani, and instead wanted to sign a contract with her, so she naturally had no reason to stay. If possible, she would also like to have a good chat with Ayana while coming to this dungeon space. However, the idea is good. But it doesn't mean that Ayana will agree. Don't even think about leaving with us. If you come to my pirate group, you will only drag me back. Ayana looked at Kazumi with an extremely cold expression at this moment. Ayana. Kazumi pursed her lips, her expression slightly complicated. Buggy looked at Kazumi, then at Ayana. Reason tells him that it is best not to intervene between these two women. So, he waved to the members of the Buggy Pirates behind him, and led them back a few steps away from Ayana and Kazumi. If you're going to board the Buggy Pirates ship, try to beat me. If you can't even defeat me, it means that what I said is right, you will only drag me back. Ayana pulled out the short sword from her waist, and said to Kazumi in a cold voice. Seeing this scene, Kazumi's expression became more complicated, and a faint sadness emerged from her heart. Kazumi, let's have a chat. Seeing this, Rifan put his arms around Kazumi's shoulders, and led her to jump into the small room on the observation deck at the highest point of the sail. Rifan, what do you want? Kazumi looked at the closed environment around her, and looked at Rifan with some doubts. Well, can you please take off your coat first? Rifan rubbed his nose, smiled and pointed to the ninja suit Kazumi was wearing. If it's about your drinks, please talk about it later. Hearing this, Kazumi raised her eyebrows and said quietly. Inside her jacket, the ninja suit, there were only a couple of bandages left. At that time, she was busy leaving with Ayane. So there's nothing under her coat except the bandage. Don't worry, this time it's not about special ointments and drinks. What I want to tell you is about you and Ayane. Rifan lightly raised his palm, patted Kazumi on the shoulder, and said with a light smile. Not about the special ointment. Kazumi frowned, and after noticing Rifan winking at her, she immediately understood what Rifan meant. Okay. Kazumi nodded slightly, and untied the coat on her body, leaving only a few bandages around her chest. Perhaps it was because the bandage was wrapped too tightly and the squeezing force was too strong. Some traces of moisture have already appeared on the bandage. Similarly, following Kazumi's actions, the live broadcast room of the two was temporarily plunged into darkness. This made the audience watching Rifan and Kazumi's live broadcast immediately lament. The elders from Kazumi's ninja village also frowned tightly. Rifan, what do you want to talk about? Now your live broadcast room and mine are all black. I think you can rest assured. After confirming the black screen in the live broadcast room on her personal panel, Kazumi spoke to Rifan. As for why Rifan didn't blacken the screen in the live broadcast room by himself, but let her play tricks, Kazumi didn't even think about it. She knew in her heart that this was also a way for Rifan to take advantage of her. But in order to be able to hear what Rifan had to say, Kazumi couldn't care less. Kazumi, I understand that you want to follow Ayane and try to protect her. But you have to understand her difficulties. After all, you are a traitor. In theory, Ayane has to chase you down. Your ninja village should be like this, right? And now, her Reincarnator ranking is higher than yours. In other words, she is stronger than you. On my ship, she won't do anything to you, and can talk to you normally without a problem. After all, with me here, she has a reason to give to your ninja village higher-ups. But you left with her, and your strength is still lower than hers. Under such circumstances, if she still fails to kill you, she has no way to explain it in ninja village. You also know that unless the live broadcast room is blacked out, you, me, and Ayane's actions will not be seen. You left with the buggy pirates, it's impossible to keep the live broadcast room on a black screen all the time, right? I know Ayane cares about you, but she needs to keep it hidden. You should be able to guess how she will be treated in Ninja Village if they show it, right? Rifan sat down cross-legged, raised his head and said to Kazumi in front of him. While speaking, his gaze sized up Kazumi in front of him wantonly. I have to say that Rifan was very interested in Kazumi's bandage outfit. Even, he has already started thinking about asking Nojiko and Robin to make a bandage outfit in the future. After all, in the past, he hadn't thought of using bandages to decorate the two of them. When Kazumi heard Rifan's words, she immediately frowned. Obviously, after Rifan's sermon, she also understood the disadvantages of leaving with Ayane. I think the reason why Ayane asked you to defeat her, for you to leave with her, on the one hand, she wants you to retreat in spite of difficulties. On the other hand, she also wants to remind you to follow her and leave, only if you are stronger than her. In this way, even if she can't kill you, she won't be punished at Ninja Village. Rifan continued. Strength. But, with my current strength, it's very difficult to defeat Ayane. Kazumi pursed her lips and said. Indeed, in terms of hard power, you are indeed weaker than Ayane. As far as talent is concerned, although your charm talent can be considered powerful, even women can be swayed by you to a certain extent. But for those with strong willpower, the power of this charm is slightly weaker. If the person you charm is much stronger than you, the power of charm will be further reduced or become useless. You know Ayane's willpower, she has always been cold, and she has the power of Haki herself. So I don't think you can stand a chance against her. By the way, do you want to sit down as we talk? You keep standing, although the view from my side is good, but if I keep looking at it like this, my heartbeat will keep speeding up. Rifan said, pointing to Kazumi's rather large chest staining her bandage with white milk. Kazumi was originally thinking about what Rifan said about strength. When he suddenly shifted the topic to the scenery, Kazumi was stunned for a moment. Later, she shook her head, knelt down in front of Rifan, and put her hands on her above the knee. Damn, I miscalculated, from this angle, you are more beautiful. Rifan rubbed his nose, sighed and looked at Kazumi who was facing him. Rifan, please stop joking. Compared to the Empress, I think I am far behind. Even against the other female crew members on your ship, I don't have an advantage. Kazumi shook her head and said in a low voice. Kazumi didn't pay much attention to her appearance, but after getting the talent of charm, she also made a clear evaluation of herself. If she succeeds in displaying the talent of charm, she can indeed be more attractive than some ordinary beauties in the dungeon world. But after seeing Nojiko turned into the Empress Hancock and showing her charm, she also understands that even if she uses the talent of charm, she will not be more attractive than Hancock. Of course, this is only the case of ordinary use of the charm talent. If she directly transforms the talent of charm into the spiritual energy of charming people's mind and invades the enemy's body, her charm in the eyes of the enemy will also be further improved. Of course, this also depends on the situation where her emotional energy can work. Rifan, since you said this all to me, you should have some way. Or, you want to make a deal with me? After thinking for a while, Kazumi asked Rifan. As expected of Miss Kazumi, you're really smart. I'm not hiding it anymore. Kazumi, I like you very much. Of course, I'm not just interested in your beauty. I also like your ability and character very much. Our hometown is being threatened by monsters from the abyss. If possible, I also want to turn some potential and trustworthy reincarnators from other countries into my strength. Kazumi, anyway, you are a traitor, even if you become my partner, it's no big deal. It's better to make a conditional slavery contract with me. If you can complete the slavery contract, I will give you freedom. If you cannot complete the slavery contract, you will become my slave. Of course, the title of slave is only given by the copy space. If you become my slave, I will treat you as my partner. Although I usually take some advantage, you don't have to worry that I will really attack you, unless you like me, haha. Ayane should have told you about my character, but you might not believe me. But you should believe her words. Rifan said, crossing his legs and moving forward. In an instant, the distance between Kazumi's knees was less than 1 centimeter. After listening to Rifan's words, Kazumi fell into a long thought. Rifan was not in a hurry, and waited quietly while admiring the beauty of Kazumi in front of him. Suddenly, Kazumi raised her head and looked at Rifan seriously. Rifan, can you tell me the details of the contract? Chapter 290, Contract Content. Okay, I will give a specific plan. Rifan smiled and continued. Kazumi, what level do you think your current strength has reached? Hearing this, Kazumi frowned, and said hesitantly. Earlier you completed the first Reincarnator to defeat the Naval Headquarters Commodore achievement. And the Naval Headquarters Commodore you defeated should be that Shuzo. That man, I can't do anything to him. My strength may only be close to that of the Naval Headquarters Commodore. Rifan nodded. It wasn't me who beat him, it was my partner Vivi *. But this is a trivial matter, let's talk about your strength. Kazumi, I will help you raise your strength to the level of the Naval Headquarters Commodore. You give me a devil fruit for 3 months, which is about the same as the expiration time of the contract between Ayane and me. What do you think? If your strength has reached the level of Naval Headquarters Commodore, you don't have to worry about being defeated by Shuzo. Rifan proposed as he watched Kazumi in thought. Although it's just a devil fruit, wanting to get it in 3 months will be tight. Rifan felt that if Kazumi wanted to get the devil fruit successfully, she might need a certain amount of luck. Even if she really got it, Rifan felt that he was not at a loss. After all, he's in need of devil fruit. And even sell devil fruit. Rifan feels that this can also smooth out the related resources needed to cultivate Kazumi's growth. Kazumi fell into deep thought, recalling the scene of being hunted down by Shuzo and Momonga in her mind and said. Even if I am stronger than Shuzo, I will still be hunted down by Momonga, who is Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. And Ayane's strength may already be stronger than Shuzo's. If my strength is only at the level of Naval Headquarters Commodore, I don't think I'll be able to defeat her and board her buggy pirates. Rifan, can you tell me, if I want to have the strength of a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, what price do I have to pay? Kazumi raised her head and looked at Rifan solemnly. She understands that she has to gain a firm foothold in this world. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level combat power is a must. If she doesn't reach the level of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, those reincarnators entering the new world will be cannon fodder. This is also the common sense she got from Gasparde, her former captain who was dead. Very well, it seems that our Ms. Kazumi wants to do a big business with me. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level strength, I understand. This at least requires you to awaken 2 types of haki and raise your physical level to A level. Considering your current strength, Well, I'll give you two choices, Kazumi. I'll help you improve to the strength level of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, and you will give me 3 devil fruits in half a year. Or, you give me 4 devil fruits in 8 months. Rifan said with a smile on his face. Although the two plans he gave extended the time of the contract a lot. But Rifan felt that if she made a contract with him, then she basically became his slave. It will be difficult for her to find enough devil fruit within the specified time. Half a year. After a little hesitation, Kazumi spoke. You have courage, since this is the case, let's start to make a contract. Hearing Kazumi's words, Rifan had the usual smile on his face. Wait a minute Rifan, before signing the contract, I want to ask how you plan to improve my strength. Kazumi asked suspiciously. It's very simple, you go to sea with me. I will take you to defeat and kill the strong to gain battle points. Of course, if you are willing to directly join my Black Pearl Pirates, I can also use my points to help you become stronger. Speaking of which, you don't have the captain now, so you can't get battle points. How about it, do you want to join my Black Pearl Pirates temporarily to strengthen yourself? If you want to leave in the future, we can break up peacefully. If we break up peacefully, neither you nor I will be punished by the copy space. Rifan smiled and offered his proposal. For a Reincarnator to be a crew member of the Black Pearl, this is something Rifan has long wanted to do. If Kazumi is willing to join at this moment, Rifan will accept her without hesitation. In this way, there are fewer chances for her to run away. If I join your pirate group now, I won't be able to get devil fruit at all in the future. Kazumi shook her head, and rejected Rifan's proposal with Rifan's slightly regretful expression. Rifan, can you do me a favor? If it were you, you would be able to persuade Ayane to let me temporarily become a member of the Buggy Pirates. In this way, I also have the captain. Kazumi said softly. It's really a pity, I didn't expect that I can't compare with that red nose. Okay, I'll talk to Ayane. I believe she will give me this one. Rifan shrugged and said regretfully. Of course, he also understood Kazumi. If she really followed him now, even if she finds devil fruit in the future, there is a high probability that it will fall into his hands. Kazumi wants to have it, except when traveling alone. But if you want to get devil fruit in this way, the probability is too low. After hearing Rifan's reply, Kazumi breathed a sigh of relief. The reason why she plans to become a member of the Buggy Pirates now is also to successfully go to Ayane's side in the future. Then, Rifan, let's make a contract. After Ayane finished speaking, the reminder of the copy space immediately sounded in Rifan's mind. Rifan, Kazumi sent you an application for a slave contract. The content of the contract is as follows. You help Kazumi's strength reach the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level, and after her strength reaches the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level, Kazumi needs to pay you 3 devil fruits within 6 months, and there are no restrictions on the types of devil fruits. If Kazumi fails to pay you 3 devil fruits within half a year, she will become your slave and complete any of your instructions. Do you accept the contract? That goes without saying, of course it is accepted. Rifan directly confirmed the contract. In the next moment, all the reincarnators in the copy space and the audience in the real world got relevant reminders. Notice. Rifan signed a bondage contract with Kazumi. Rifan cultivated Kazumi to Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral level. Kazumi needs to pay Rifan 3 devil fruits within 6 months. When the Blue Star audiences were arguing about Rifan and Kazumi's enslavement contract, that suddenly appeared. In the other place, the elders of Kazumi's ninja village also frowned. The signing of a contract between Ayane and Rifan has already made them dislike Rifan. And Kazumi, a traitor, also entered into a contract with Rifan, which made their patience with Rifan reach the limit. This man Rifan, if this man comes back alive from the copy space, we need to take care of him. What do you think, Chief Hayate? In the room, a vague old man covered in shadows spoke to a young man in the center of the house. Elder, the inner world of Green Pheasant and the inner world of Panda have not been connected for a long time. If we suddenly find Rifan from Panda, will it cause conflicts between the worlds of the two countries? The young chief named Hayate asked, frowning. Even if there is a conflict, it is because of this Rifan. Hayate, you have to know that Ayane is one of the most potential ninja in our ninja village. Kazumi is rebellious. If her power continues to grow stronger, it will not be a good thing for us. Whether it's because of Ayane or Kazumi, we must take care of this man. This point, as the leader of Ninja Village, you should understand. The elder's voice fluttered around the room, making Hay-8, an elite ninja, unable to find the elder's position. Under the elder's pressure, cold sweat flowed from his forehead, and he didn't know how to answer the elder for a while. Forget it, think about it first. After all, it will take some time for Rifan and other reincarnators to return from the copy space. You and everyone else have worked hard to clean the monsters from the abyss. Go and have a good rest first. When Hay-8 heard the elder's words, he saluted immediately, turned and left the room. And after he left, the elder suddenly appeared in the room. He took a deep look at Hay-8's leaving figure, and then looked at the big screens in the room. Among them, there is a live screen marked with the names of Rifan, Kazumi, and Ayane. Are you worried that Rifan will continue to get stronger? At this time, another old man's voice suddenly sounded in the room. The first elder turned his head to look, and found that there was an old man who was dressed similarly to him behind him. Here you come, dragon. The first elder said quietly. The second elder nodded, and looked in the direction Hay-8 left. Give Hay-8 some time. That child, Hay-8, is too young, and he doesn't know enough about the things in the other world. Peace in the world among nations is only temporary. If the abyss monsters are gone, we will also fight each other. The second elder said. The first elder nodded. I understand, second elder. It's just that Rifan has become too strong. If he returns, it may break the balance between the countries and the world. Perhaps, even if the threat of monsters from the abyss is still there. Including us, all countries except Panda will assassinate Rifan in Panda. Kazumi is fine, but if that child Ayane is with Rifan, she will definitely be affected. Perhaps, the existence of Ayane will make our country object to us having her. Having said that, the first elder couldn't help but sighed deeply. No matter how worried you are, there is nothing you can do. Let's just wait and see what happens. Everything, we have to wait until the copy space returns the reincarnators back. Perhaps, one day in the future, the reincarnator of our country will be stronger than Rifan. The second elder said. A reincarnation in our country. The first elder muttered silently, and the figures of Otoshi and Makoto Ito appeared in his mind. It's such a pity, now in the reincarnators ranking, they are not in the rankings. And with their characters, even if they surpass Rifan, it may not be a good thing for us. And Ayane, that child was too unlucky. She couldn't choose a better pirate group at the beginning, so she developed to the point of signing a contract with Rifan. Having said that, the first elder sighed again. You are at it again, worrying about it every day. There is indeed a problem with the character of Otoshi and Ito. But maybe they will also become the backbone of our country. The second elder shook his head and said. I'm afraid that these two people only care about enjoying themselves. Also, the relationship between Otoshi and Rifan is not very good. Makoto Ito seems to be about to meet Rifan as well. The future of the two of them is unclear. The first elder sighed. Even if those two people can't do it, isn't there still that girl? Although that Anoka is a female student, she performed well. And we also have Momiji, she is originally from the other world. TL/N, also means the dark side. If the white side is where normal beings live, the dark side is where people with great strength live. I believe she will gain advantages in her future development. The second elder patted the first elder on the shoulder and said. Hearing this, the first elder nodded slightly. Let's not talk about this anymore, tell me about the form of domestic abyssal monsters. Also, when you go out this time, it should have revealed the latest plan to deal with monsters from the abyss, right? The second elder smiled, took out a scroll from his arms and handed it to the first elder. Seeing the scroll, the first elder immediately took it and began to read it seriously. Meanwhile, One Piece World. You two, what are you doing? What happened to the copy space prompt just now? Ayane suddenly pushed open the door of the observation deck. Her gaze soon fell on Kazumi, who was kneeling on the ground wearing a pair of white silk and her chest was only tied with some bandages. And Rifan lying on Kazumi's lap enjoying a knee pillow. Chapter 291, The Method of Persuading Ayane. The Black Pearl Observatory. The contract has been concluded, can you go down and talk to Ayane for me now, Rifan? Kazumi straightened her back, put her hands on her thighs, and stared straight into Rifan's eyes. Don't worry, I can sense that she hasn't left my ship yet. Even if we are a little late, it doesn't matter. By the way, can you let me lie down? Rifan said with a light smile. Lie down. Kazumi blinked, followed Rifan's line of sight, and landed on her lap. Rifan, do you want me to perform a knee pillow on you? Is that all right? Is that a condition of our contract? That's not true, it's just that I think it's a pity not to lie down when I see you kneeling up close. Really? Yes. Facing Kashomi's interrogative sentence, Rifan nodded heavily. This is a good opportunity. Now Kashomi's upper body is only wrapped in bandages, and not all parts are completely wrapped. If he could lie on her lap, Rifan felt that he could see a very beautiful view of from the bottom up. Well, whatever you want. Shaking her head, Kashomi moved her hands so that Rifan could lie down. Seeing this, Rifan was not polite, turned around directly, and placed the back of his head firmly on Kashomi's legs. He looked up, and immediately saw the breathtaking landscape in front of his eyes. It's really a stunning view. Kashomi, after you have a child, the scale of your chest will probably be this level. Rifan couldn't help muttering. Kashomi was taken aback for a moment, and soon her face was a little red. Although she has experienced many things and has matured a lot in her mind. Compared to Ayani, she is less likely to feel shy. But under the influence of the ointment developed by Rifan, she experienced the feeling of being a mother in advance. Such a situation made Kashomi, who had never thought about such a thing, blush a little. She hastily tightened her mind and turned her attention to the Reincarnator communication interface. She wants to divert her attention while watching other reincarnations' thoughts about her bondage contract with Rifan. Green Pheasant Momiji, Kashomi, why did you also make a contract with Rifan, what happened? Green Pheasant Otoshi, this Kashomi is Ayana's sister. Sure enough, the two sisters are sluts, and they are both traitors of the Green Pheasant. Kangaroo Helena, Kashomi, I didn't expect you to meet Rifan so soon. Since you are with Rifan, please urge Rifan to help Marie Rose and Anoka. Kangaroo Marie Rose, Rifan, didn't we sign a contract? Didn't you say that you would rush to help us immediately, what about you? Why did you turn around and sign a contract with Kashomi? You man, how many girls do you want to make a contract with? Panda Ada Wong, it's just a contract, not a marriage contract, Rifan can make contracts with countless girls, hee. Panda Lee, Ada is right, I think so too. Eagle Ethan, you two women are really open-minded. Could it be that Rifan didn't use the contract to do anything to you? Is that possible? Panda Ada Wong, if I say yes, what about you, Ethan? Eagle Weskier, I didn't expect to hear such words from you, the ace agent, one day, Ada. That Rifan must be quite a wonderful person. Green Pheasant Anoka, Sir Rifan also completed the first level achievement of defeating Marine Commodore for the first time, he must be a very good man. But, can I trouble you to come over soon, Sir Rifan? We are about to be chased by strange zombies. Eagle Weskier, a zombies hey, it's a bit concerning. Green Pheasant Momiji, Kashomi, can you see my message? If you see it, can you tell me about your situation? Rifan really intends to help you improve your strength to the level of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Kamal Nasser, how is that possible, that Rifan, how could he be so kind? I think he must be tricking you Kashomi. He definitely wants your body. Eagle Tina, this method was used by Makoto Ito. But if it's Rifan, there should be no need to use this method. Green Pheasant Makoto Ito, hey, don't say anything about me. Be careful that I tear your mouth apart and ravage you fiercely, woman. At this moment, Makoto Ito was worried about losing his shadow. The already bad temper naturally became worse. Seeing other reincarnators making fun of him at this moment, how could he not fight back? Eagle Tina, you're courageous, boy. If you can successfully stand in front of me, I would like to see if you can do it. I'm afraid you will be killed by Rifan before that happens. Green Pheasant Makoto Ito, bastard, I didn't offend that man, why would he kill me? Eagle Tina, who knows, I think a man like you must have offended him somewhere, let's wait and see. Kamal Nasser, Rifan must have forced Kashomi to sign a contract. After signing the contract, even if he doesn't help Kashomi improve her strength, he will definitely ask Kashomi to sacrifice herself. If she didn't, Rifan wouldn't help her improve her strength. Anyway, if Rifan doesn't do this, he won't have any loss. Ko Lima Choi, that's right, according to the content of the contract, even if Rifan breaks the contract, he won't have any losses. On the contrary, if Kashomi wants to make her strength reach Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, she may have to provide Rifan with services other than the contract. Camel Hilai, I am more concerned about whether Rifan really has the ability to push other reincarnators to the level of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral is the backbone of Marine A. Camel Yuza, what, Miss Hilai, are you worried that you won't be able to defeat Rifan who has such power? Camel Hilai, hey. Are you looking for death, Yuza? Eagle Sarah Brian, if Rifan really has the power to cultivate other reincarnators to that extent, maybe some reincarnators will voluntarily enter into a contract with him. Kangaroo Helena, indeed, for some people who live in fiery waters and whose lives are in danger at any time, signing a contract with Rifan to gain power is indeed a choice. Green Pheasant Momiji, could it be that, Kashumi, you voluntarily entered into a contract with Rifan for the sake of power? Rifan won't really do anything to you other than the content of the contract, right? Kashumi looked at Momiji's message, and then at Rifan's face lying on her lap with his eyes closed. Such a man, although he took advantage of me, he did not do too much. While thinking in her heart, Kashumi connected her spirit to the copy space. Soon, her message appeared on the Reincarnation Exchange group page. Green Pheasant Kashumi, Momiji, don't worry, I voluntarily entered into a contract with Rifan to achieve a certain purpose. Green Pheasant Momiji, I see, as long as you're fine, I'm relieved. Kangaroo Marie Rose, hey, you're too quick to reassure yourself, what if Rifan forced her to say that? Panda Rifan, girl, you really say that in front of me, are you not worried about what I will do to you after I see you? Kangaroo Marie Rose, then you should hurry up, bastard, I've had enough of zombies. Panda Rifan, alright, then get ready. I have now arrived at the outskirts of the Devil's Triangle. At that time, you and I will have to settle accounts carefully. Kangaroo Marie Rose, what, you've arrived? Wait, you're not really going to Arat and Uromi, are you? Green Pheasant Makoto Itu, Rifan? Are you coming, can you help me too? Green Pheasant Anoka, great, Rifan is coming, we can finally be free. Panda Rifan, you will know later what I want to do to you, girl. Anoka, don't worry, I will help you. As for Makoto Itu, you didn't pay me the corresponding reward like Marie Rose and Anoka. That being said, Rifan may not save Itu even if he pays him. Seeing Rifan's message, Itu immediately clenched his fists. Although he didn't dare to express his dissatisfaction with Rifan in the Reincarnator chat, but on his own boat, he once again yelled at Rifan and smashed things on the boat. Kangaroo Helena, then, I leave everything to you, Sir Rifan. Panda Rifan, don't worry, I am a very trustworthy person, and I will do what I promise. After Rifan left a message, he opened his eyes again. But this time, he didn't look at the scenery belonging to Kashumi above, but looked in the direction of the door of the observation room. Boom! With a crisp sound, the door of the observation room was pushed open. Ayana's figure appeared in front of Rifan and Kashumi with sunshine. You two, what are you doing? What happened to the copy space prompt just now? Ayana frowned tightly, and asked the two of them coldly. Especially when she saw that Rifan was still enjoying Kashumi's knee pillow at the moment, her expression became even more frosty. Rifan, you made me wait, and you ended up enjoying yourself here. Ayana walked up to Rifan, stretched out her hand and grabbed Rifan's collar, and lifted him from Kashumi's lap. Are you jealous that Kashumi and I are so close, Ayana? Asshole, who would be jealous of the two of you? There's no need to hide it, Ayana, I can see it on your eyes. What can you see, bastard? Okay, stop making trouble, there is really nothing I can do about you. The corner of Rifan's mouth raised, and he held Ayana in his arms with open arms. No matter how Ayana struggled, he didn't let go. Bastard, let me go, you bastard. Ayana writhed violently, even using armament haki. But facing the gap in strength, she has no way to get out of Rifan's arms. Instead, she twisted her body violently, allowing Rifan to fully feel the softness of her body. Not letting go, unless you promise me a condition. Damn it, you let go first and then talk about the conditions. You promised me first. Rifan, you have finally awakened, are you going to use force on me? You promised me. Silence means promise, right? It seems I can only use force. The corner of Rifan's mouth raised, and he used Thunder Fruit to mobilize the power of lightning to wrap around his fingers. Immediately, he used the technique he developed to walk around the sensitive parts of Ayana's body, such as armpits. All of a sudden, Ayana, who had a cold face, couldn't help laughing out loud. Ha, ha, ha. Damn it, you bastard, stop. It's itchy. How can you know my weaknesses? It's too itchy, stop now. Ayana said while enduring the itch, her whole body couldn't restrain the trembling of her body. Although she received anti-pain exercises, anti-itch training was also received. But she has never experienced this level of punishment. Pfft. On the side, Kashumi suddenly covered her mouth and laughed. You two have a really good relationship. Kashumi whispered, and the way she looked at Rifan gradually changed. It becomes softer. Chapter 292, The Worried Marines. Damn, who has a good relationship with him? When Ayana heard Kashumi's words, she became very angry. She was already annoyed enough to be harassed by Rifan, but now that Kashumi said that, she immediately became even more irritable. Faced with Ayana's reprimand, Kashumi just smiled and didn't say anything. At this moment, after seeing Rifan and Ayana fighting, she felt more at ease with Rifan. Even, she felt faintly in her heart that handing Ayana to Rifan didn't seem to be a big deal. Of course, such thoughts only appeared in Kashumi's mind for a moment. After all, if possible, she still hopes that Ayana can be free and not bear the mark of slavery. Of course, she also understands that she has no way to help Ayana to repay the devil fruit to Rifan anyway. Even if she wanted to sneak touch to help Ayana pay back, Rifan will not accept it either. Even if Rifan accepts it, the copy space as a witness to the contract may not recognize it. Okay, I promise you. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Ayana couldn't stand Rifan's tickling and Kashumi's extremely soft eyes. Finally discouraged, said to Rifan. Hey? So fast? Rifan raised his eyebrows and looked at Ayana in a daze. Why, you still want me to refuse? Not really, I just think you can still struggle, so that I can feel more while holding you. Damn it, you still can't change your character of taking advantage of women. If I change it, it won't be me anymore, haha. Seeing Ayana's distraught look, Rifan burst out laughing. But he also accepted it as soon as he saw it, and let go of Ayana with his hands. Actually, the thing I want you to agree to is very simple, that is, I want you to allow Kashumi to join the buggy pirates temporarily. Rifan put his hands in his pockets and said what he and Kashumi had discussed. Sure enough, when Ayana heard that Kashumi wanted to join the buggy pirates, she immediately refused. But in the end, she agreed under Rifan's offensive. Well, I just want you to temporarily join the buggy pirates. After you gain enough power from Rifan, you're leaving the buggy pirates. Afterwards, whatever it is, you're going to build your own pirate group or join another pirate group. It doesn't matter to me whether you find another pirate group to be its crew. Ayana clasped her arms and said to Kashumi coldly. Kashumi laughed softly twice, but did not speak. She thought clearly. After she becomes stronger than Ayana, she will stay with the buggy pirates to protect Ayana. Okay, this matter can be regarded as done. Kashumi, Ayana, you two have a good chat. Afterwards, Ayana, you can take Kashumi to ask for Buggy's permission to become a member of his group. Also, I still have something to do here, so I won't see you off, Ayana. This time, we really have to say goodbye again. Don't die outside. Rifan opened his hands and gave Ayana a big hug again. This time, Ayana did not struggle. After sighing slightly, she also stretched out her arms and hugged Rifan's waist. At this time, her live broadcast room was also in a black screen because Kashumi's dress was too cool. Therefore, she is not worried that her appearance will be seen by the elders in her village. Don't worry, I won't die even if you die. It's you, don't treat Kashumi too much just because she's too gentle and doesn't know how to refuse. As Ayana said, she glanced at Kashumi. As soon as these words came out, Kashumi was deeply moved. You know, Ayana hasn't said anything about her for several years. She never thought that she would hear Ayana say such things to her because of Rifan. For a moment, she couldn't help being grateful to Rifan in her heart. A knee pillow or something should be fine, right? It's just that I didn't lie down enough before, which is a pity. Rifan turned around and took a look at the pair of big white legs in white silk. No problem, if you want to, just let me know. Kashumi smiled and answered the question directly instead of Ayana. At the moment she is in a state of gratitude to Rifan. It's no problem for her to let him. You woman, don't agree to this man so easily. Be careful that he pushes you hard. At that time, it would be him throwing away the bottle and holding you directly to drink your milk. Ayana snorted coldly, and glanced at Kashomi's bosom, which was still in the state of special ointment. That. Kashomi looked down at her chest. It does require a certain amount of psychological preparation. Need psychological preparation? That is to say, when you are ready, I can. Kashomi, you are really a good to me. You will definitely be a very good mother in the future. When you are ready, be sure to tell me. I can look like a child, so that you can experience the feeling of raising a child in advance. Don't stare at me like that, Ayani. Kashomi didn't refuse, did she? Okay, stop pushing. I'll just go. Talk slowly, both of you. Pushed by Ayani, Rifan walked slowly towards the door. After waving to Kashomi, he jumped down from the lookout room and came back to Bonnie. Are you done talking? Bonnie crossed her arms and looked at Rifan with interest. Not far away, Jun, Hina, Momanga and others who have been paying attention to Rifan also looked over. We're done chatting, let's go, Bonnie. Rifan smiled, waved to Bonnie, and took the lead towards the cabin of the Black Pearl. Bonnie is naturally close behind. My training is not over yet, I leave the sailing to you Nami. Robin said to Nami, Makita and others, and followed Rifan. However, Nojiko, who is familiar with Robin, and saw her licking her lips, immediately understand that Robin is not so much looking for Rifan to complete her practice at this moment, but more interested in making out with Rifan. After thinking for a while, Nojiko also took steps to follow. Wait, Nojiko, what are you going to do? Vivi grabbed Nojiko's arm and said with a blushing face. Naturally, I'm also going to train, Vivi. But, hasn't your training come to an end? Although it has come to an end, there are still some things I don't understand and I want to ask Captain Rifan. Is that really all that is? Vivi, do you think I will do other things? This. Vivi looked at Nojiko's high-profile smiling face, and after looking at the people around her who were staring at her, she really couldn't tell them that she was worried that Nojiko would use her body data to make out with Rifan. Although it is a bit narcissistic to say so. But Vivi understands that her current charm is indeed much higher than before. Based on what she knew about Rifan, he might not have allowed Nojiko to serve him like her before. But now, Rifan will have a high probability of making Nojiko change into her current appearance to serve him. Captain Rifan, maybe you'll make Nojiko dance on her body in my image. Perhaps. Nojiko will be asked to study the power of the slippery fruit with him. When Vivi thought about it, the corresponding picture appeared in her mind. All of a sudden, her entire face turned red. There was even faint white smoke spouting from above her head. At this time, Vivi, who was immersed in her imagination, didn't notice that Nojiko had left quietly, and followed Rifan and others into the cabin. Princess Vivi of Alabasta mastered the sword technique capable of burning flames through Rifan. That Bonnie is going to be trained by Rifan again. Robin and Nojiko seem to be trained by Rifan as well. Jun Vice Admiral, what kind of power do you think Rifan will guide them to train? Momongal looked back at Vivi, turned to look at Jun beside him and asked. I'm also curious, but it's just a pity that man Rifan doesn't allow me and Hina to get close when he trains his crew. The only thing I can tell is that Rifan seems to be teaching Robin some kind of boxing. Jun shook her head and said regretfully. When Rifan was instructing the crew to train, even Hina, who was very close to Rifan, couldn't step forward to inquire about the information. Not to mention her. Boxing. Momonga frowned, that Robin is already troublesome enough, and I don't know how much stronger she will become if she practices boxing again. According to Rifan, she will be at the level of Marine Admiral. Jun shrugged, recalling once again Rifan's words about training Robin to be a rival to Marine Admiral. Marine Admiral. This should be impossible. Momonga shook his head and said. Leaving aside Robin, that Bonnie is also worthy of attention. After all, she is that man's daughter. If Rifan makes her stronger, it will more or less cause some trouble to our marine arrangements. Hey, if Rifan really becomes Shishibukai, he will definitely come into contact with that man. I don't know how he will feel when he learns that the person he didn't catch at the beginning became the captain of his daughter. Jun sighed and muttered. What she said was, of course, the tyrant Kuma. Bonnie's relationship with Kuma was supposed to be a secret. But during her time on the Black Pearl, she had learned a few things from Bonnie. And know that Rifan and others have known about the relationship between Bonnie and Kuma. So she didn't mind talking about Bonnie and Kuma at this point. Chapter 293, Buggy Alliance with Rifan. I just hope he doesn't mess around. Speaking of which, Jun Vice Admiral, is there really no way to watch how Rifan guides his crew to practice? If we use observation haki to detect it, there shouldn't be any problems, right? Momonga asked suspiciously. I advise you not to do this. Unless you want to be hooked on a rod for Sea Kings. Momonga, there are more people on this ship who are more powerful than you. If you probe randomly, it will be easily exposed. Jun patted Momonga on the shoulder and said meaningfully. When Momonga heard this, he thought of the scene where Rifan was hanging him on the fishing rod as bait and fishing for Sea Kings with a grinning grin, and immediately felt a chill rising from the solace of his feet swimming all over his body, and finally rushed to his mind. Forget it. Momonga shook his head and said in a low voice. Tisk, are you giving up so easily? At this time, Makita's voice suddenly rang in the ears of Momonga. Momonga was startled, and immediately turned around to look. He saw behind him, Makita had come to him without knowing when. At this moment, she was looking at Momonga with regret. Apparently regretting that Momonga hadn't the guts to peep. At this moment, Momonga understood. Their every move is being watched by the Black Pearl Pirates. This person may be Makita, who is the deputy captain. Of course, it could be someone else as well. Miss Makita, please don't scare Momonga. He's got enough injuries. Compared to this, should we be ready to enter the Devil's Triangle waters? Jun took a step forward, stood in front of Makita and pointed to the approaching dark sea with a smile on her face. Oops, we're about to enter that sea of ghosts soon. Ayane, are you finished there? Hurry up and leave with us. Buggy got the tip from Jun, and immediately shouted to Ayane in the observation room. As soon as the words fell, Ayane and Kazumi, who had already dressed, jumped down from the observation room. Come on, Captain Buggy, it's time for our voyage. Ayane nodded to Buggy and said. Okay, we're sailing now. Wait, what about her? Buggy nodded heavily, then looked at Kazumi sharply. Buggy is not stupid, so he can naturally see the relationship between Ayane and Kazumi. Captain Buggy, I have to trouble you. Please also allow me to be your crew member, and allow me to stay on Rifan's ship for the time being. Kazumi nodded at Buggy and said with a smile. Hey? You want to join my pirate group? But why do you want to stay here with Rifan? Buggy blinked, getting more and more confused. Captain Buggy, don't think too much about it. Quickly agree and leave. Entering that dark sea, we may not be able to leave. Ayane reminded. Yes, we have to leave quickly. You're Kazumi, right? I agree with your request, from now on you are a member of the Buggy Pirates. Buggy nodded heavily, and immediately greeted Ayane and other members of the Buggy Pirates to leave together. Ayane glanced at Kazumi, then quickly followed Buggy's footsteps. A little later, before the pirate ship of the Buggy Pirates is about to enter the dark sea, the crew of the Buggy Pirates turned the bow and drove the pirate ship in another direction. So, are you going to stay here? After the Buggy Pirates left, Makita looked at Kazumi with great interest. Yes, Miss Makita. I will ask for more advice in the future. Kazumi bowed slightly to Makita, and said with a light smile. She knows that Makita is the vice captain of the Black Pearl Pirates and the first crew member of Rifan, and is very powerful. Naturally, she has great respect for the other party. You are more polite than that, Ayane. You will stay, presumably with Captain Rifan's consent. In that case, I won't say anything. But even if you join the red-nosed pirate group. But it doesn't mean that you can freeload for free. If you want to stay, you need to do something. Come and help sail. Makita beckoned to Kazumi, then walked towards the direction of the sail. Yes, Miss Makita. Kazumi smiled and followed quickly. Not far away, Jun, Momonga and others saw this scene in their eyes. Kazumi joined the Buggy Pirates, but stayed with Rifan. What is this? Momonga frowned, feeling quite puzzled. Jun-san, Momonga-san, could it be because they want to be an ally with the Buggy Pirates? Anne reminded. An alliance between the Black Pearl Pirates and the Buggy Pirates. It shouldn't be, the Buggy Pirates are just a small pirate group in East Blue. Could it be that Buggy Pirates have some important value that we haven't seen? Momonga frowned even tighter. Anyway, Kazumi stays with Rifan, but she is also a member of the Buggy Pirates. It's doomed that our Marines have to pay attention to the Buggy Pirates. Maybe we'll have to get someone to investigate the buggy pirates in the future. At this time, Shizu, who had been defeated by Vivi before and hadn't said a word for a long time, suddenly spoke. You guys, what are you mumbling there? Hurry up and help, don't think that you are really a passenger and you don't have to do anything. At this moment, Makita suddenly shouted to Anne, Shizu, and the others. Anne and Bins trembled, and quickly looked at Jun. Go and help, if you make Makita angry. The consequences could be worse. Rifan is unlikely to hit a pretty girl hard. But Makita has no such worries. So Anne, on this ship, would rather make Rifan angry than Mickey. Jun warned Anne, Bins, and others in the tone of a senior. Jun first took a step towards the place where Makita and the others were. Bins, Anne, and the others glanced at each other, and quickly followed Jun's footsteps. Black Pearl. Women's swimming room. Just here. Rifan looked at the familiar environment around him, chuckled twice and turned his head to look behind him. Hey, Bonnie, what are you doing? Just as Rifan turned around, he saw Bonnie throwing her coat and skirt to the reclining chair behind her, and asked in surprise. Aren't you asking the question knowingly, Rifan? You brought me here not only because you wanted me to train with you but also because you want to see me like this, right? Bonnie pointed to the inner clothes she was wearing and grinned. I didn't intend for you to wear clothes like this. If you want to wear something, it should at least be a swimsuit. Rifan shrugged and said. There's no need to change, anyway, the swimsuit is similar to this one. Let's talk about my training first. I will say it first, now is my time. If you two want to play with Rifan's body, you have to wait for me to train first. As Bonnie said, she turned her head and glanced at Robin and Nojiko who were walking one after the other from the gate. Bonnie, who is familiar with the two, can tell what they want to do to Rifan just by looking at their expressions. Although in the past she was also very happy to watch them having fun. But at this time, she wanted to improve her power even more. No problem, there is plenty of time anyway. Right, Nojiko? Robin shrugged and said to Nojiko while changing into her swimsuit as if no one was there. Indeed, Robin. Just taking advantage of this period of time, I also researched to what extent I can control the slippery fruit. So as not so that Captain Rifan won't feel anything. How much control is required to give Captain Rifan the feeling of ultimate? Nojiko raised her right hand and patted her cheek. In the next moment, she turned into Vivi who ate the slippery fruit. Because it is the first time to use the power of clone fruit to use the ability of slippery fruit. Nojiko, like Vivi before, accidentally let the clothes on her body slip off her smooth skin. However, he didn't care about it when she saw it. Instead, when Rifan looked over, she deliberately posed a few very attractive poses. For a moment, Rifan only felt his heartbeat start to speed up. I said, don't get excited too fast, you pervert. Now you should be looking at me. Bonnie suddenly stretched out her hands to press both sides of Rifan's face, and turned his head in her direction. I know. Don't worry, I will help you to become stronger. Rifan chuckled twice, raised his hand and clutched the pirate tattoo on Bonnie's heart. You bastard, I said I want to train. Wait, this burning sensation. Bonnie thought Rifan was taking advantage of her. But soon the familiar burning sensation made her make a sound of surprise. Rifan, you use 1000 points to strengthen the body of your helmsman jewelry. Bonnie. Rifan, you use the primary armament Haki Awakening Scroll to strengthen your helmsman jewelry. Bonnie. Enhancement has been completed, jewelry. Bonnie's personal attributes have been refreshed, please check it yourself. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Jewelry Bonnie. Age, 22 years old. Crew number, 06. Position, helmsman, excellent. Physical, 19,333. Physical level, B level. Devil fruit, age fruit. Martial arts skill, none. Other skills, Germa 66 exoskeleton. Special ability, armament Haki. Loyalty, 75, close friend. Bounty, 43 million berry. Rifan, your personal talent strengthen the crew, get doubled and return it has been employed. It has been detected that you already have advanced armament Haki. The relevant enhancements related to the primary armament Haki Awakening Scroll have been converted into 500 physical points. Enhancement has been completed, your personal attribute has been updated, please check it yourself. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Rifan. Age, 25 years old. Position, Captain. Talent, strengthen the crew, equal returns. Points, 0 points. Physical, 115,601 points. Physical level, SS level. Devil Fruit, Dark Fruit. Chapter 294, Bonnie is ashamed and angry. Her loyalty has also increased a little. As long as you add 5 points of loyalty. Bonnie's level of loyalty to me would be close to intimacy. I also don't know if Bonnie's intimacy level reaches intimate. Can I open the corresponding copy of the final invitation? However, even if it can't be opened casually, it should be able to make Bonnie allow me to do more things with her. While thinking, Rifan squeezed the thing in his hand hard. Snapped. There was a crisp sound. Bonnie directly raised her hand and slapped Rifan's right hand that was clutching her chest. Hump. Let go. Bonnie curled her lips, crossed her hands and looked at Rifan angrily. Bonnie, you've changed. You used to be able to hug me and take a bath with me. As a result, you actually slapped my hand away after I finished strengthening you. It really chills your captain's heart. Rifan raised his hand and stroked his forehead. And said to Bonnie with a heartbroken look. Okay, stop acting, Rifan. If you want me to help you take a bath, I'll do it after the training is over. Now let's talk about what kind of ability you want to teach me. Is it swordsmanship or boxing? Bonnie said indifferently while familiarizing herself with the armament haki she just got. Obviously, she doesn't care about helping Rifan take a bath or something. She swatted Rifan's hand away earlier, more like hoping that Rifan would train her faster. It's a deal, Bonnie. Speaking of which, you don't need to turn me into a child when you take a bath this time. Rifan put the wristband on Bonnie's shoulder, and smiled lightly. Of course I will, you would be dishonest if I didn't turn you into a child's body. However, if you really help me meet that guy. It's not that I can't let you maintain an adult body, let me help you take a bath. Even, I can use the oil you used on Ayani and Kazumi before. Bonnie reached out and gently lifted Rifan's chin, smiling charmingly. For Bonnie who knows about Rifan, she also knows about the special ointment. At this point, neither Nojiko nor Khalifa kept anything from Bonnie. Special ointment? Speaking of which, Bonnie, with your devil fruit ability, you should be able to become a newborn mother without using special ointment. Rifan asked curiously. He does remember. Using devil fruit, Bonnie can not only become a younger version of herself but also an older version of herself. She can also become a future warping version of herself for a certain period of time. So becoming a newborn mother state. It should be easy for Bonnie. But do you really want me to do that, Rifan? If I just use my devil fruit to become like that? You can't change me by using your wicked ointment on me. The corner of Bonnie's mouth raised. She raised her hands in front of Rifan, making a gesture of grabbing things. When Rifan saw this scene, he immediately understood the meaning of Bonnie's words. You managed to convince me, Bonnie. Sure enough, it's more exciting for me to turn you into a newborn mother than using your devil fruit to turn into that. Rifan patted Bonnie's shoulder hard and laughed loudly. Rifan, if you want to do it in person, there are two options. One is to use a special ointment. The other one should be the traditional way of getting married. Rifan, Bonnie, which way are you going to use? Robin is wearing a pure white swimsuit. Wearing a floral shirt. She came to the side of the two with slender thighs, and smiled lightly. If I had to choose, of course I would choose the last option. Rifan gave his thumbs up without hesitation. Think beautifully, don't think you can get me so easily, Rifan. Letting you use ointment is already the most I can tolerate. By the way, remember to look like a child when the time comes. Otherwise, I'm worried that you won't be able to control yourself. While talking, Bonnie raised her hand and patted Rifan's body. The next moment, the age fruit ability was activated. Rifan's body shrank rapidly, and once again turned into the appearance of a 10-year-old child. I said, I will be very embarrassed if you do this. Anyway, so what should I teach you, boxing or kendo? Rifan looked at the baggy clothes on his body, then raised his head and said to Bonnie. Humph, turning you into this is to calm you down a bit. In case your hormones are strong and you are attracted by Robin and Nojiko. Also, even if you become like this, you won't forget how to use boxing and sword skills, right? As Bonnie spoke, she lifted Rifan up from the pile of clothes that had become ill-fitting. Then she walked quickly to the dressing room not far away. After some searching, Bonnie found men's swimwear among a bunch of women's swimwear. And this belongs to men's clothing, which actually contains clothing of all age groups. Sure enough, there are clothes of all ages for you here. In other words, Nojiko has used my ability to turn you into various ages and play with you. You guys are really having a lot of fun. Bonnie chuckled twice, and began to take the initiative to change into a smaller swimsuit for Rifan. She raised her hands and feet, like a slightly aggressive older sister. Hey, you don't have to say every time I was played by Nojiko and the others, okay? Can't I be the one to play with them? After coming out of the locker room, Rifan walked forward and complained to Bonnie who was following behind him. It doesn't matter, whoever plays with the other can't change the essence of what you do. Compared to this, we can start. Now that I have armament haki, it would be a pity not to learn how to use it. Bonnie looked at her hands, black as iron from the armament haki, and grinned openly. Apparently, it's important to have the power of such a haki. She felt quite happy. Okay, since you're in such a hurry, let's get started. Rifan glanced at Robin who was exercising fishman karate in the swimming pool, and Nojiko who was adapting to the power of slippery fruit on the bank, then turned his head and said to Bonnie. By the way, don't use your ability. Use your fists well to try to fight me first. After Rifan finished speaking, he raised his leg and kicked Bonnie with a Kempo kick. He wants to test what kind of boxing or swordsmanship Bonnie is suitable for. A good way is for Rifan to fight her with corresponding punches. Through actual combat, Rifan is often able to quickly discover what kind of martial arts skills or kendo skills the other party is suitable for. Bonnie was already prepared, and directly raised her arms to block in front of her. But even so, she was kicked several meters away by the powerful force of Rifan's feet. You're really merciless. Bonnie shook her numb arm and looked up at Rifan. However, where Rifan was originally standing, his figure disappeared. Hey! Bonnie frowned and turned to look around. For her, who has not yet awakened observation haki, it is not so easy to capture Rifan's position. Just when she was looking for Rifan's figure, suddenly, she felt a strong wind passing by. And she felt windy in the position of her chest and abdomen. She looked down and found that all her inner clothes had disappeared in an instant. You bastard, you really can't get rid of the habit of taking advantage of women. Bonnie twitched her lips and looked up. Sure enough, she saw Rifan, who was waving the clothes he took off from her, looking at her with a smile on his face. Bonnie, if you don't like it, try to become stronger as soon as possible. Otherwise, no matter what you are wearing, I will take it off for you. As Rifan said, he waved the things in his hands more forcefully to Bonnie. You bastard, if you want to see it, just say so. Don't use excuses to cover it up. Bonnie was so angry that she jumped and kicked Rifan in the face. She didn't care what Rifan would see with her big move. Rifan raised his mouth, raised his right hand and directly grabbed Bonnie's feet, stopping her in mid-air. Wow, what a beautiful view. I have to say, you are really bold, Bonnie. You look like this. Presumably the enemy used Kempo medicine poisonous mist of the Kempo Kampi medicine boxing technique on you, you won't feel ashamed because of your ragged clothes. Rifan whistled, and said to Bonnie in front of him with great interest. Chinese medicine boxing? I'm not a doctor, nor a nurse. I don't know anything about medicine. So, don't think about teaching me to train Kempo medicine techniques. As Bonnie said that, she flipped violently, one hand took advantage of the floor for strength, and the other leg that was not held by Rifan slammed towards Rifan's face. This time, she's even armed herself with the newly acquired armament haki on her calf. Boom! Rifan raised his arm, Bonnie's foot hit Rifan's arm and immediately there was a loud noise. Not bad. By the way, do you have any complaints about my face? Otherwise, why would you target me in the face? I'm so cute now. Why are you smacking my face? Rifan shook his head and sighed. Tisk, if you didn't steal my clothes earlier, I might be reluctant to target your face. And now, stop ogling my body and let me go. Bonnie snapped. Chapter 295, The Fate of Father and Daughter. Bonnie watched as Rifan grabbed her leg with one hand. His other hand, holding his chin, while nodding from time to time watching her body scrupulously. Depressed, she immediately withdrew her right leg, blocked by Rifan and kicked Rifan in the face continuously. In sorrow, Rifan could only quickly block with his free hand. How can you say it was stolen? I took it openly. If you want to blame, you can only blame yourself for not being able to guard against it. Speaking of which, with your little armament haki, wearing clothes that have no defense at all will get ruined sooner or later. After all, the defense is not the stronger the less you wear. Also, are you 100 cracked foot? Rifan smiled and said. 100 crack feet, fighter Hilai's signature move. Although Rifan has not seen what the Reincarnator Hilai looks like, but through the observation of Hilai in the Reincarnator group, Rifan can basically confirm that Hilai is the Taekwondo user fighter from the fighting game world. The less you wear, the higher your defense. Can you speak humanly? Bonnie snarled and snapped back. Then, after accumulating a lot of strength and armament haki, she quickly kicked towards Rifan's face. Suddenly, a gust of wind directly hit Rifan. Fortunately, this woman does not have foot odor. The corner of Rifan's mouth twitched, and he blinked quickly at Bonnie. Nukama Kenpo, Death Wink. Boom. An explosive wave suddenly burst from Rifan's direction, directly hitting Bonnie's kicked leg. With no doubt. How can Bonnie's attack compare to Rifan's Death Wink? In just an instant, Bonnie's body flew upside down in the wind and waves of the explosion. This time, she flew directly for a distance of more than 10 meters. After landing, Bonnie slid her feet on the floor for several meters before standing on her tiptoes. Do you want to kill me? As soon as she landed, Bonnie yelled at Rifan viciously. Aren't you all right? Besides, I also wanted to tell you the trick I just did. Wearing this, you really can't defend against my attack. I take it off for you first, and it can also help you ensure that you can still put them on after your training. Rifan waved the inner clothes he took off from Bonnie and smiled. What kind of trick you used just now seems quite interesting. Bonnie landed on one foot and rubbed her numb right leg with both hands. Ignoring Rifan's molestation, she asked curiously. Although Rifan's attack did not cause her any injuries. But numbness is inevitable. Hey, do you really care about my move? Nonsense, just tell me what it's called. Death Wink, that's its name, it's a move in the Nukama Kenpo. Nukama Kenpo? Isn't that the shemale technique? I didn't expect you to know this. No way, I'm talented and intelligent, and I know a little about everything. Hump, you're just clearly a pervert. Wait, you know the shemale technique, don't tell me you're a shemale yourself. You woman, you really dare to say it, do you want me to prove to you whether I am man or not? Rifan twitched the corners of his mouth, and his figure flashed in front of Bonnie. He stretched out his hands and used the dragon claw fist to Bonnie's chest. Hiss. It hurts, let me go you bastard. I won't let go. Now tell, what did you say earlier? Damn it, I didn't say anything, just let me go, it's going to swell. Humph, if I don't teach you a lesson, you thought I was a sick cat. Seeing Bonnie begging for mercy, Rifan laughed out loud. He let go of his hands and fell from hanging on Bonnie. Bonnie rubbed her reddened and sore chest vigorously, and gave Rifan a hard look. Earlier, because of the pain, she couldn't help begging Rifan for mercy. But after recovering, she wished she could slap herself a few seconds ago. Obviously, she was very upset about begging Rifan for mercy. Speaking of which, your father once stopped attacking me because I showed this shemale technique. To a certain extent, this set of boxing techniques can be regarded as destined for you two, father and daughter. How about it, do you want to try to learn this technique from me? With your fruit ability, if it becomes a version that distorts your enemy self, maybe it will be very suitable for using Nukama Kenpo. Rifan folded his arms and said. The boxing technique of Nukama Kenpo is not weak, and the owner of this set of boxing, Ivankov, even integrated his own hormonal fruit ability into it. When it uses the hormonal fruit ability to make his head particularly large, he can use the Hell Blink, which is more powerful than the Death Blink. It is even possible to use Galaxy Blink, which is dozens of times more powerful than Death Blink. In the original book, even the transformed Kuma was knocked out by Ivankov with this trick. It is no exaggeration to say that the Nukama Kenpo method used by Ivankov is not weaker than the Dragon Claw technique used by Sabo. Once upon a time, when Rifan just learned the Nukama Kenpo, he could not use Hell Blink and Galaxy Blink. After all, he can't make his head as big as Ivankov. But through Clone Fruit, now he can use the Titan's body. Plus his unparalleled speed. Whether it is Hell Blink or Galaxy Blink, Rifan longer felt a problem using them. Nukama Kenpo? How can Kuma have a relationship with this technique? Rifan, explain it to me. Bonnie was taken aback, and immediately came to Rifan and stretched out her hands to press Rifan's shoulders, staring straight into Rifan's eyes. About this, when you meet your father, go and ask him in person. Rifan turned his head to avoid meeting Bonnie's eyes. Just kidding, Kuma would never want his daughter to know that he was working for the Revolutionary Army. If Rifan told Bonnie at this moment, Kuma would definitely be unhappy. After that, it will be difficult for Rifan to copy the devil fruit ability of Kuma. Damn it, I still don't know when I will meet that guy. You explain it to me now. Bonnie shook Rifan's shoulder wildly, but Rifan just whistled to himself, not thinking of answering Bonnie's question at all. Bonnie frowned, and suddenly put her hands on the back of Rifan's head. They saw her pulling the back of Rifan's head towards her. The next moment, Rifan felt a rich touch and a faint fragrance. How about this, Rifan, can we talk now? Bonnie lowered her head and looked at Rifan, who was being soaked in her arms with a smile on her face. No, can't. Why not? Don't you want to continue to experience this feeling? Sui Rankasuming is a question. Although I want to experience it, but I can't say it. You bastard, when did you become so hard on the things you like? Bonnie frowned tightly, and let go of Rifan, who was steaming in her arms. I have my reasons. You'd better ask your father about some things. Rifan rubbed his nose, he looked at Bonnie, and put his hand on Bonnie's chest again. This time, Bonnie didn't stop him either. Even though Rifan squeezed it aggressively, he still waited as if to measure the weight. If I could see that guy, I wouldn't insist on asking you. Bonnie sighed, and immediately put on a pitiful look as she looked at Rifan. It seems to be trying to make Rifan speak in this way. Don't worry, I have a hunch that it won't be long before you will be able to see Kuma. Rifan laughed. Even if they can't meet Kuma in the Devil's Triangle, Rifan will use his Shishibukai identity to let Bonnie meet Kuma after becoming a Shishibukai. At least, until Kuma completely turns into a mindless robot. No matter what, Rifan wants Bonnie and Kuma to meet and have a good chat. As for keeping Kuma from becoming an unconscious robot, Rifan also has his own considerations in mind. I hope what you say is true, Rifan. Bonnie let go of Rifan's shoulders, stood up and rubbed her feet that were a little sore from being attacked by Rifan earlier. Can you release the power of the shockwave in the blink of an eye? Being able to hit someone without getting close, Rifan, is it some kind of armament hacky ability? Bonnie asked curiously. Chapter 296, Zephyr delivers documents to Rifan. It's not, it's the shockwave that's triggered by a quick blink. Of course, there are still some skills in it. Although I know that you don't necessarily look good when you blink quickly, but if you want to learn it, I will teach you. Rifan laughed. You bastard, how dare you call me ugly, when you are enjoying yourself on me? Forget it, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Come on, we can begin. Since you said that the Nukama Kenpo technique has a relationship with me and that man, then I'll see if I can learn it. Bonnie rubbed her wrist, and said to Rifan energetically. In that case, then I will continue. Nukama Kenpo technique, Hell Strike, weakened version. After Rifan finished speaking, his hands turned into sharp stabbing knives and stabbed Bonnie's chest continuously. For a moment, Bonnie only felt that Rifan's hands were all in front of her. In desperation, she could only cross her arms in front of her to defend against Rifan's attack. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of bangs, Bonnie felt her body being attacked everywhere. You did it on purpose. Bonnie rubbed her heart, where she had been hit the most, and under her belly. How about it, now, you should believe that if you wear the same outfit just now, it will also be cut clean. Rifan put his hands in front of his body and said with a smile on his face. You think I believe you? You kid is very bad. Bonnie shouted coquettishly, and attacked again regardless of the fact that she was repulsed by Rifan just now. Rifan smiled as he looked at angry Bonnie, and began to guide her in his own way. All of a sudden, Bonnie's angry shouts and miserable screams began to resound one after another in the swimming room. Meanwhile, on the other side. Naval Headquarters. Port. Naval Headquarters Marshal Sengoku put his hands in his pockets and looked at the fast-moving marine warship in front of him with a serious face. At this moment, a tall and strong figure jumped up from the warship, and landed directly in front of Sengoku. The person who came was none other than Zephyr, the former Marine Admiral who had spoken with Sengoku before, the current Marine Chief Instructor, and the leader of the Marine Guerrillas. Zephyr, you're back. Sengoku said seriously. Sengoku, there's no need to reminisce about the old days. Things we have made very clear in the call. There are prisoners and pirates caught in this operation on the warship. Next, I need the fastest marine warship to take me to the Devil's Triangle waters. Zephyr said with a serious face. Well, since I promised you to go to the sea area of the Devil's Triangle, I will not take it back. If there are no accidents, Rifan will be there to beat Moria to become Shishibukai. Just right, you can go this time to confirm whether Rifan defeated Shishibukai, and give him the paperwork to become Shishibukai. Sengoku said, and handed the documents that had been prepared to Zephyr's hand. Documents? That damned kid hasn't defeated Shishibukai, yet the 5 elders have handed over the relevant documents to you already. They really gave this kid the green light all the way. Zephyr frowned and said unhappily. It's no wonder, after all, not long ago, he learned that Rifan had captured Anne and others. That man is useful to us in the world government after all. Just this time you go over and see with your eyes if you can see how Rifan trains his crew. Don't worry, with Rifan's personality, Anne and the others will be fine. Sengoku patted his old buddy Zephyr on the shoulder, and said calmly. Having said that, he was not sure about Anne's situation in his heart. After all, although he did call the Black Pearl, but it has never been able to connect. By the way, our Marine's female Titan Vice Admiral will also go with you during this operation. Sengoku said suddenly. Her. Zephyr frowned, she volunteered. That's right. Sengoku nodded heavily and said. Zephyr, you know what the Gungnir means to the giant. The Titan Vice Admirals have heard that Rifan and Nojiko can use the giant's move Gungnir, and they all want to confirm it with their own eyes. The female Titan Vice Admiral was finally chosen to follow you. If Rifan knows about Sengoku plan, he will be very happy and give him a thumbs up. After all, in this way, he can let Nojiko copy the body data of the female Titan. Afterwards, she will be able to use Elbaf techniques more conveniently. Hearing this, Zephyr nodded slightly. I have no problem with it. If nothing else, I want to go right away. There is a certain distance from here to the Devil's Triangle Sea area after all. As Zephyr said, he was about to turn around and leave. One more thing, Zephyr. Before you go, know that Tyrant Kuma has received a message from the world government to go to where Moria is. Sengoku said. Hey? Why did the world government send that guy there? Zephyr frowned. You know the power of Kuma. He can travel freely in this sea. His action this time is to convey to Moria the next Shishibukai meeting on behalf of us and the world government. You know the next Shishibukai meeting, that meeting will specifically discuss the crusade against the Whitebeard pirates. Therefore, the Shishibukai will be notified one after another now. And Kuma knows exactly where Moria is. He can convey it faster. It's a pity that when I got your news, he had already left. Otherwise, he can take you to where Moria is. Having said that, Sengoku couldn't help but sigh deeply. So what do you want me to do? Zephyr frowned, and asked. Jewelry Bonnie is on Rifan's boat. The time Marine arranged for Kuma to capture Rifan, Rifan escaped from his grasp. It can be said that the relationship between Rifan and Kuma is quite complicated. Letting the two of them meet may have some impact that we don't want to see. And the guy is now going where Moria is. Not so much to inform Moria to attend the Shishibukai meeting. It's better to tell Rifan to attend Shishabukai's meeting. Sengoku nodded and said. The matter between Rifan and Kuma indeed be said to be quite complicated, but there is nothing we can do now. As for informing Shishibukai of the meeting, whether you inform Moria or inform Rifan, it's the same. Zephyr frowned at this and shook his head. It's different than having Moria in the meeting. The 5 elders are more willing to let Rifan come to the meeting. I'm leaving, Sengoku. If there is anything, I will contact you. I'm also sorry to trouble you to keep in touch with Rifan. If he really beats Moria, just let that guy wait for me in Moria's territory. I have to bring Anne back from that Rifan who likes women. While talking, Zephyr has already walked towards the marine warship that Sengoku prepared for him. And on that broad marine warship, a blonde female titan is ready to sail. Chapter 297, Reincarnator visits Brook. Kangaroo Helena, Marie, how is the situation over there, are you still safe? Kangaroo Marie rose, Miss, we are fine for the time being, but there are too many strange zombies on this island, and they are also immune to death. If this continues, we really can't hide. Green Pheasant Anoka, yes, besides those strange zombies, there are many strange monsters, even the trees can suddenly come alive, it's really scary. Green Pheasant Makoto Itu, Marie, Anoka, I have found a group of like-minded survivors here, maybe you can join us. We are all people who have lost their shadows, I think we can be partners. Eagle Tina, what a shameless bastard, you were chasing Anoka and Marie Rose before, and now you want them to be your partners again? You have a problem with your IQ, right? That's why you can say such things. Eagle Sarah Bryan, this man is not necessarily stupid, maybe he just wants Anoka and Marie, and when Rifan saves them later, maybe he can be saved by the way. Camel Hilai, it's not certain, maybe he just wants to catch Marie Rose and Anoka before Rifan rescues them and enjoy them, hehe. Camel Yuza, indeed. Some people are even willing to sacrifice their lives for that little desire. Ida still holds the resurrection coin in his hand, maybe he is really willing to use this resurrection coin in exchange for the opportunity to ravage Anoka and Marie Rose. After all, if Rifan came to where they were, not only would he not necessarily not lend a helping hand to him, but he might even attack him. Green Pheasant Makoto Itu, you bastards, you can't speculate on me like that. I admit that I have made some mistakes before, but after these times of reflection, I have come to my senses. Right now, I just want to help Anoka and Marie Rose. Kangaroo Marie Rose, do you think we'll believe your nonsense, trash? Green Pheasant Makoto Itu, I really want to help. Miss Helena, why don't you persuade Marie Rose and Anoka? Kangaroo Helena, please don't take me for a fool, Mr. Itu. Now that Sir Rifan is approaching your side, I can only pin my hopes on him. As for you, you better take care of yourself. Green Pheasant Makoto Itu, don't say that, Miss Helena. Although Sir Rifan is coming, the time is not certain after all. And one more way out of trouble is always good, isn't it? Panda Rifan, I have entered the Devil's Triangle Sea area now, I think I can help Anoka and the others even without your help. Green Pheasant Anoka, thank you, Sir Rifan, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Marie Rose Kangaroo, so slow, man, you keeps me waiting. Panda Rifan, you're welcome, Anoka, I'm just fulfilling our agreement. And Marie Rose, I am also looking forward to meeting you, and then we can have a good talk. Kangaroo Marie Rose, damn you, are you really going to do something to me? Panda Rifan, what do you think? Devil's Triangle Sea area. Thriller bark. Seeing everyone's messages, Makoto Itu couldn't help clenching his fists tightly together. During these times, he did rely on his outstanding strength to attract some lonely people who had lost their shadows to join him. However, as analyzed by other reincarnators, he did not have good intentions in inviting Anoka and Marie Rose. Of course, at this moment, he has no plans to do anything to Anoka and Marie Rose. All he wanted was to temporarily control the two of them. So when Rifan saved them, he can also be saved by the way. Originally seeing Marie Rose and Anoka refuse, he originally wanted to work hard on persuading them. But when Rifan message appear, he didn't dare to say anything more in the communication group. Damn Rifan, why is this bastard always against me? Makoto Itu raised his hand and smashed it heavily on the edge of the ship, and said viciously. Are you mad again, love? A beautifully dressed woman walked behind Makoto Itu and wrapped his waist. It's you, what's the matter? When Ito saw the visitor, the anger on his face eased a little. This is the woman he found on the thriller bark earlier. Although she has lost her shadow, the woman walks among the survivors through her beauty, so she can live a nourishing life. Seeing that she was born beautiful, Ito naturally took her to his ship. Honey, I know you want to take back your shadow so you can escape from this place later. Actually, you don't need to defeat Moria. As long as you can defeat the zombie with your shadow and defeat him, your shadow can return. Then we'll be able to get out of here. I also know that you are saving manpower. And I know there is a strong, lone swordsman here. He's very strong. If we can recruit him, our hope of regaining our shadow will be even greater. The woman leaned her head against Makoto Ito's back and said softly. A powerful swordsman? Interesting. Who are you talking about? Ito raised his eyebrows and smiled. Although Ito's shadow was taken away, he was in the sea area of the Devil's Triangle during these days. It also allowed him to recruit quite a few good players. Gradually, his goal changed from escaping from the Devil's Triangle to recruiting more players before escaping from the Devil's Triangle. Hearing what the woman said at this moment, he naturally became interested. It's a skeleton man. I secretly saw him fighting with that swordsman named Ryoma. Although he lost, his strength is beyond doubt. By the way, the shadow of that Ryoma came from him. He will challenge Ryoma every once in a while, maybe we will be able to see him soon. As the woman spoke, she told Ita the details of the skeleton swordsman she saw. Makoto Ita felt more and more familiar the more he listened. After a while, the skeleton that he met in the Devil's Triangle area could not help appearing in his mind. That guy! That guy is not a ghost! Ita widened his eyes and exclaimed. Being able to fight with Ryoma is naturally not a ghost. But now, Ita has seen too many zombies on the terrifying 3 sailboats, and his resistance to objects like skeletons is much weaker. Therefore, at this moment, when he heard that the skeleton turned out to be a strong man who could fight Ryoma, Moria's strongest zombie swordsman, Ita felt a great pity in his heart, and only hated himself for not asking Brook more. He just thought that if he had had a few more conversations with Brook at that time, he might be able to recruit him. It's not too late now, let's set off immediately to find that guy. Ita made a decision immediately. Honey, are you going to go to sea to find the skeleton man? We can wait here. The woman frowned and said worriedly. I'm not a person who likes to wait. I know where his lead is. So, let's go to where he is now. Ita patted the back of the woman's hand, and pulled her towards his crew members. Meanwhile, on the other side. Black Pearl. Swimming room. Death, wink. Bonnie let out a yell, and quickly blinked at Rifan who was not far in front of her. The next moment, the wind power that exploded on the main road condensed in front of Bonnie and quickly slammed into Rifan. Rifan raised his eyebrows, and also used Death Wink, detonating a strong wind equal to Bonnie's attack. 2 strong currents formed by the same type of moves collided together and directly cancelled each other out in the air. Huff, huff, finally, it's done. Bonnie supported her knees with both hands, panting and muttering. Although she was tired, when she saw that she had successfully used such a trick, Bonnie was still quite happy. Clap X3. Rifan clapped his hands and said with a smile. Congratulations, Bonnie. You have mastered Death Blink in just a few hours. You are quite gifted. I believe it won't take too long to master a full set of Nukama Kenpo techniques. After Rifan finished speaking, he glanced at Bonnie's personal attribute panel. Pirates, Black Pearl Pirates, Level 3. Name, Jewelry Bonnie. Age, 22 years old. Crew number, 06. Position, Helmsman, excellent. Physical, 19,333. Physical level, B level. Devil Fruit, Age Fruit. Martial Arts Skill, New Human Boxing, unfinished. Other skills, Germa 66 Exoskeleton. Special ability, Armament Haki. Loyalty, 75, Close Friend. Bounty, 43 million berry. Although she only mastered one of the new human boxing techniques, her martial arts skills column are no longer just a word of nothing. Humph, of course I am. If I want to learn something, there's nothing I can't learn. Bonnie took a deep breath, dispelled the fatigue a little, and said to Rifan proudly with her hands on her hips. Having said that, she also understands that she can master Death Wink so quickly. Except that she may indeed have corresponding adaptability to the technique. What's more, it's Rifan's credit. You guy, you really know how to guide people. And those of us who are engraved with the seal of the Black Pearl Pirates only need to practice with you and can quickly master this power. This time, thank you. Bonnie walked up to the 12-year-old Rifan and knelt down, half kneeling, and put her head close to Rifan's forehead, gently leaving a faint lip print on Rifan's forehead. Is that a reward? You can think so. Really, then you are really stingy. Hey? What are you talking about? I reward you, but you still despise it. That's not what I mean, but you obviously put my face on there earlier, but your reward is only kiss. Rifan raised his hand and pointed to Bonnie's chest. Hump, you're really a pervert to the bone. Bonnie smacked her mouth, grabbed Rifan's arm and threw him flying. Bury his face on her chest? How could there be such a good thing every time? After throwing Rifan away, Bonnie sat cross-legged. She wanted to take a good look back at her previous state of using Death Wink. On the other side, when Nojiko saw Rifan falling from the air, she immediately stretched out her hand to catch Rifan in her arms. In an instant, Rifan felt a soft touch coming from his back. Are you all right, Captain? Nojiko held Rifan's face high and leaned against Rifan's back in front of her, and said with a smile on her face. Fortunately, although Bonnie learned to eat me up and threw me out after But Nojiko, your appearance warmed my heart like a ray of sunshine piercing through the darkness. Rifan turned around and said to Nojiko with a smile on his face. It's not so much that Nojiko warmed your heart, it's better to say that it warmed your back. Robin finished her fishman karate practice, climbed out of the swimming pool, and walked to Rifan and Nojiko. Seeing Nojiko's glamorous appearance, a smile appeared on her face, and she said with a smile. Even when using the slippery fruit power, you can successfully catch Captain Rifan. It seems that you have successfully mastered the power of the slippery fruit, Nojiko. Hearing this, Nojiko shook her head, while reaching out to touch Rifan, saying, No, I haven't fully grasped it yet. At least, I don't know how far I could control the slippery fruit. Only in this way can Captain Rifan experience the beauty brought by the slippery fruit without feeling nothing because of the slippery fruit's ability. As Nojiko said, a charming smile could not help but appear on her face. The movements of her hands gradually became bolder. This made Rifan suspect that she wanted to do something to him at this very moment. The facts are indeed as Rifan thought. Nojiko quickly carried Rifan to a recliner and put him down, and then sat on Rifan's body. Hey, Captain, I recently learned a new dance from Vivi. Exactly, I'm using Vivi's data now. Why don't I dance for you, just on your body, and by the way, also be familiar with the power of the slippery fruit. Nojiko put her head close to Rifan's ear, and whispered softly. Chapter 298, The Skeleton on the Pirate Ship. Dancing, do you need to be so close? At this moment, Bonnie's voice suddenly rang in the ears of Rifan, Nojiko, and Robin. You don't understand, Bonnie. Even if you stick it tightly, you can still dance. At least, Captain Rifan often made me and Nojiko do that. Robin made a gesture of crossing fingers and explained to Bonnie with a chuckle. You guys really had a lot of fun. Dancing even while doing that. By the way, won't you be distracted? Bonnie said with interest. Naturally there are distractions. Because we were distracted by dancing, Captain Rifan often made us do it all over again *. Nojiko took over the conversation and said. It seems very interesting, just because I am tired from practicing. Why don't you guys show me one? After hearing what Nojiko said, Bonnie became even more excited. After she finished speaking, she stepped forward and reached out to touch Rifan's body. In the next moment, Rifan's 12-year-old appearance, which was originally affected by the fruit of age, quickly returned to normal. At the same time, because of the rapid growth of the body, Rifan's little swim trunk was quickly torn apart. It seems that our captain also agree. Nojiko smiled lightly. Because of their close skinship, she was the first to feel the changes in Rifan's body. Carefully, Nojiko twisted her body, just when she wanted to try the slippery fruit ability as she said. The gate of the swimming pool was suddenly pushed open. Everyone followed the sound and found that it was Vivi whose body data was borrowed by Nojiko, followed by Kazumi who appeared in front of everyone. What are you guys doing? Vivi's eyes widened to the maximum, her palms were in front of her eyes, with 2 fingers split open. In other words, she can see clearly the situation of Rifan and Nojiko. As you can see, experiment with the power of slippery fruit. Maybe, I can give you some experience later, Vivi. After all, your father is still waiting for you to take your child back. Nojiko was not nervous, she flicked her hair lightly, and said to Vivi. What are you talking about, Nojiko? I haven't even thought about that yet. Vivi blushed and said. Really, then, are you here to stop me? But even if you stop me this time, I might use your data the next time you can't see it. Nojiko said with a smile. It wasn't just Rifan, who is excited. The same is true for Nojiko. Though she's not as obsessed with that aspect of things as Hina is. But at this moment when the blood is circulating rapidly in her body, her performance still has a touch of imperialism that she didn't have before. Really, Nojiko? Vivi stomped her feet. The next moment, her body turned into a stream of yellow sand and came to Nojiko's side, trying to use the power of the yellow sand to lead Nojiko away from Rifan. Sand fruit. I see, so Rifan handed over the sand fruit to her. Not only that, but also gave her double devil fruit ability scrolls, and gave her the slippery fruit. In this way, the strength of this Princess Vivi is not only at the level of the 20 million berry marked in her reward order. While sighing in her heart, Kazumi stepped towards Rifan and the others. Seeing the yellow sand surrounding him, Nojiko instinctively used the power of the slippery fruit to turn his body skin into a smooth state with 0 friction. For a while, Vivi wanted to use sand to take Nojiko away from Rifan's body, but there was no way. Fortunately, Nojiko was only joking with Vivi. There is no intention of using her data to make out with Rifan in front of Vivi. After chuckling twice, Nojiko raised her left hand to use the ability of clone fruit to change into her own appearance. Captain, this time, let me use my body for the time being. Don't worry, I can still dance now. Nojiko reached out and drew a circle on Rifan's chest, and beamed. This scene made Vivi, who had just recovered from the state of yellow sand, blush even more. Although Nojiko changed back to her original appearance. But she was different from Bonnie, she couldn't calmly watch Rifan and Nojiko put on a big show. Let's wait. Vivi and Kazumi are here, there must be something. Right, Vivi, Kazumi. Rifan patted Nojiko's arm, and sat up from the recliner with Nojiko in his arms. That's right, we did come here to inform you of something. Captain Rifan. We saw a ghost ship on the sea. And the flag of this ship is the same ship that Laboon originally followed as you said. Makita also saw a living skeleton on that ship from a height. Captain Rifan, do you want to go and see for yourself? Vivi finished speaking quickly in one breath, for fear that Nojiko would not be able to resist pushing Rifan again. I see. It's really that ship. Then let's see it together. Nojiko, Robin, Bonnie, put on your clothes and get ready to take a look and come me. Rifan said. Naturally, he knew that the skeleton on that ship is Brook. Now that he met this excellent musician, he naturally wanted to meet him. Of course, he's also ready to smack Brook before inviting him. He didn't want another crew member on board who would spy on his girlfriend. He also believes that as long as he talks to Brook well, he can get rid of his problems. I see. Nojiko nodded regretfully, she got up and went to the dressing room to find her clothes. The same goes for Bonnie and Robin. And Vivi also lowered her head after the previous scene, not daring to meet Rifan's eyes. Taking advantage of this time, Kazumi approached Rifan and whispered in his ear. Rifan, that Miss Nojiko, will she also become me and make out with you? Kazumi didn't forget, when she was on the deck earlier. Nojiko once stroked her face with her right hand. In other words, Nojiko can change into her appearance. Who knows, could it be that, Kazumi, you would not want Nojiko to become like you? Rifan laughed. Who knows, maybe I won't care. Kazumi also smiled and imitated Rifan's tone. If you didn't object, I'll take it as your consent then. Rifan smiled and put his hand on Kazumi's shoulder. As Ayuna said, you are indeed a man who climbs up the pole after giving a step. I can't be careless at all. When Kazumi heard Rifan's words, sighed and shook her head. However, in the end, she didn't say anything that would not allow Nojiko to become like her. In her opinion, even if she said such a thing. If Nojiko wanted to be like her, she can't stop her. After all, Nojiko turned into Vivi before, and Vivi couldn't completely stop Nojiko. Vivi is a member of the Black Pearl Pirates. Even she couldn't stop Nojiko. Then she, a person who is not even considered a crew member, naturally has no way to stop Nojiko. What Kazumi didn't know was that there might be no way for her to stop Nojiko. But if she insists on Rifan, Rifan may personally ask Nojiko not to change into Kazumi's appearance and make out with him. Of course, the premise is that Kazumi really becomes his partner. Otherwise, Kazumi is neither a partner nor a reincarnation of Panda, and Rifan doesn't have much interest in hearing her opinion. As for Vivi, as a crew member, if she strongly demands Rifan can persuade Nojiko not to change into her appearance. Devil's Triangle Sea Area. The Black Pearl, deck. Captain Rifan, over there. I saw a living skeleton playing the violin on that ship. After Makita sensed that Rifan was on the deck, she fell from the air and stood in front of Rifan. Rifan looked in the direction of Makita's finger, and sure enough, he sensed a huge, dilapidated pirate ship several kilometers away. Above, there is indeed a tall skeleton playing a violin. And not far from this huge pirate ship, there is also a small pirate ship. On it, some pirates who lost their shadows and wandered in the sea were also perceived. Of course, Rifan only glanced at them with observation haki, and then focused on the skeleton. Musician Brook, I don't recall any reincarnators inviting musicians' crew. That said, I was still able to get the first achievement by inviting Brook. With this guy's musical talent, he should be able to give me a good reward. Rifan thought to himself. Given Brook's musical talent, Rifan has even thought about how to promote Brook to the position of musician in the future. In the original book, the devil fruit ability possessed by one of the supernova pirates, Scratchman Apu, allows him to turn all parts of his body into musical instruments to play. Rifan thinks that if Brook becomes a double devil fruit user, having Apu's devil fruit is definitely a good match for him. Chapter 299, Giving Painful Punishment. Skeleton playing the violin. Could it be a ghost with musical talents? Robin rested her chin on one hand and said with great interest. Really, there are no ghosts in this world. Robin, stop joking. Vivi waved her hand and smiled embarrassingly. Judging from her expression, she was obviously a little scared of creatures like ghosts. No, you're wrong, Vivi. You also know that many people on our ship have obtained necklaces with the mark of the dead. This shows that there are underworld, undead, etc. in this world. Perhaps that skeleton is an undead escaped from the underworld. According to the story, this kind of undead escaped from the underworld. Usually they are vicious and dangerous evil spirits. Robin raised the corner of her mouth and said with a light smile. Dangerous evil spirit, no. No way. Vivi shook her body, subconsciously moved closer to Rifan. In her heart, Rifan is the person on the Black Pearl who can give her the most sense of security. Okay Robin, don't scare Vivi. Whether that skeleton is a ghost, we can find out by asking. However, before going to him, we have to deal with the intruder's affairs first. As Rifan said, a red light flashed in his eyes, and he looked towards the edge of the Black Pearl. The invisible user Absalom, one of Moria cronies. This guy should hear for Makita and the girl's beauty. Rifan raised the corner of his mouth and thought to himself. For such a man who has the fruit of invisibility and is lustful. If Rifan didn't plan to make Moria as his subordinate, and had the idea of inviting Perona to the Black Pearl. Absalom boarding his ship at this moment, he will kill him and throw him to feed to the sea after taking his devil fruit. A pity I can't do it. But I have to make him suffer a little bit for sneaking onto my ship. Rifan thought in his heart. On the side, Kazumi saw Rifan's appearance, raised her eyebrows slightly, and immediately looked in the direction Rifan was looking at. After a while, her brows immediately wrinkled. There is the breath of a stranger, but the eyes cannot see. Is it someone who has invisibility like Ayane? Kazumi is worthy of being a ninja, although she doesn't have observation haki yet. But through her keen senses, she still sensed the stranger who quietly climbed onto the Black Pearl from a small boat. Kazumi can feel it, and other crew members on the Black Pearl who have observation haki can naturally feel it too. For a moment, the red light brought by observation haki flickered in everyone's eyes and looked at the stranger who boarded the Black Pearl. It's great, there are so many beauties on this ship. After Absalom, who was in an invisible state, boarded the Black Pearl, a pair of eyes were immediately sucked by Makita and the other's beauty. At this moment, he almost made a sound excitedly. Fortunately, he reacted in time and covered his mouth tightly with both hands. However, he soon discovered the something wrong. These guys, why are they all looking at me? Did they found me? Absalom frowned when he saw Rifan and others looking at him. No, it must be a coincidence. There's no way they'll find me in my invisible state. Absalom collected himself, took a deep breath, and walked slowly towards Nami and others. Absalom, who is in the sea area of the Devil's Triangle, does not know the information of the outside world. Although Moria has been to the outside world, and knows some things about Rifan. But he did not tell Absalom about these things. Therefore, Absalom did not know the flag of the Black Pearl, nor did he know Rifan and others. This is also the reason why he dared to board the Black Pearl. Rifan watched Absalom approaching slowly, sneered, and was about to shoot him. At this moment, the corner of Karina's mouth raised, and the ability of the pigment fruit quickly unfolded. With her at the center, the deck of the Black Pearl began to quickly become transparent. Then came herself, Rifan, Makita and others. In the end, even the Black Pearl completely disappeared into the vast sea. Absalom stood there blankly. Fuck, what happened? Have I encountered a mirage? No, how could there be a mirage in the Devil's Triangle Sea area? Absalom opened his mouth wide, watching all this in bewilderment. He looked down and found that there was a rolling sea under his feet. Although he could feel something on the bottom of his feet, as a devil fruit user, he still felt a burst of fear when he saw the sea water under his feet. Don't tell me I met a ghost. Absalom swallowed, looking around in horror. That's right, you did meet a ghost. Karina's voice suddenly rang in Absalom's ear. That ethereal voice immediately startled Absalom. Who? Absalom roared, and instinctively punched in the direction of the sound. However, without observation haki, he has no way of capturing Karina's location. Before his fist blasted out, Karina, who was also in an invisible state, had already changed positions. Where are you attacking? I'm behind you. As Karina said, she raised her hand and patted Absalom's back. Absalom was shocked again, and quickly turned his head to look behind him. However, he found that there was no creature behind him at all. Really, there are ghosts. Absalom took 2 steps back and looked around in horror. Karina looked at Absalom's appearance and was very interested in her heart. She raised her hand, sprayed color on Absalom's body. Then, under the influence of her color fruit, Absalom's transparent fruit ability is instantly replaced by the color of the pigment. Invisibility, lifted. How is it possible that ghosts still have such abilities? Absalom looked at the strange color on his body, his entire face had turned pale. Whether ghosts have such abilities, I don't know. But what I do know is that you shouldn't have the idea of reaching out to my crew. Karina, stop playing with this guy. Remove your ability. Rifan's voice sounded behind Absalom. The next moment, Absalom felt a strong hand on his shoulder. Understood, Captain. Karina smiled slightly, and released the ability of the color fruit with a wave of her hand. In less than a few seconds, Nami no Jaiko and others, as well as the Black Pearl, appeared before Absalom's eyes. It appeared in front of his eyes entirely. What is this? The ability to be invisible. Absalom opened his mouth wide, looking fearful at Karina standing in front of him. For a moment, he even forgot that Rifan hand on his shoulder. That's right, in this world, you are not the only one who can be invisible. Karina clasped her hands, raised her chin, and looked at Absalom with great pride. And it seems that your invisibility ability is not very good compared to mine. Wow, that's amazing. You was able to hide multiple people. My invisible fruit can only make me invisible. However, since you can become invisible, that means you're not a ghost. So, I can still touch you. After Absalom was shocked, the expression on his face suddenly became obscene. With the colorful paint on his face, he looks extremely disgusting. You bastard, you have guts. Rifan frowned when he saw that Absalom was being held by him, and still wanted to stretch out his hands to his crew. Who are you? Let me go quickly. I'm not interested in men. Absalom turned his head, glanced at Rifan, and said with a frown. This guy, he is over. Chopper, you might be ready to heal this guy. Frankie shook his head, sighing inwardly at Absalom's courage. Heal? Me? You bastard! Do you know who I am? In other words, there are so many beauties on this ship, it's like a dreamland. Why do you have a few more male creatures? Forget it, I'll take you to Moria-sama. As for you girls... Absalom snorted coldly, not taking Frankie's words seriously. But when he mentioned girls, the smile on his face became lewd again. Forget it, let you shut up. Listening to you, I'm afraid I won't be able to resist killing you. Rifan shook his head, and directly cast the ability of dark fruit to form a black mist under Absalom's feet. And the moment the black mist formed, Absalom felt his body begin to fall rapidly. Wait, what is this? Damn it, it's you, who made this, right? Stop it. I said stop it. No. Absalom frantically reached out to grab what he could. However, under the strong gravitational force of dark fruit, he could only fall continuously after all. Boy, you can reflect on your wrongdoing in my dark fruit space. Don't worry, you won't die. It's just that you will experience pain that you have never experienced before. Rifan put his hands in his pockets, looked at Absalom coldly and said. Chapter 300, Envy. This guy, is he funny? He dared to provoke Brother Rifan. Obviously, he is a pervert who is greedy for women. But this guy turned out to be Moria's subordinate, don't he know the flag of Brother Rifan's pirate group? Perhaps it's because in this sea area, even newsbirds don't pass by, so he doesn't know the outside world. Then it's bad luck for this guy. But what the hell is wrong with this guy's face? It looks like the face of a wild beast. Eagle audience, based on my experience as a surgeon for many years, his face should appear that way because the body of the beast was sewn onto him. Not only his face, but other parts of his body may also have been stitched. Green Pheasant audience, this is somewhat similar to the zombies that Anoka and others encountered. It seems that Moria also has some kind of technology in his hands. Hehe, it's a pity that Moria will soon be defeated by Rifan, and will no longer have the title of Shishibukai. The guy just now seems to be a coder of Moria. Anyone with such strength can become a coder. It is conceivable how weak Moria's strength is. How about it, looking at Moria now, do you guys think he can beat Brother Rifan? Camel audience, it's just a person who is suspected of being a coder with the power of invisibility. Princess Perona hasn't appeared yet. With her ghost power that can make the enemy passive, Rifan will definitely feel quite tricky. Green Pheasant audience, that's right. And there's also that Moria. The ability to cut off shadows is scary even thinking about it. No matter how strong Rifan is, he can't even defend the shadow. Captain Rifan, are you going to kill him directly? After seeing Absalom being completely pulled into the dark space, Karina came to her side and asked with a smile on her face. Karina didn't have any affection for the wretched Absalom who reached out to her several times. Even Absalom's outstretched hand was still far away from her. It can be said that if Rifan wants to kill Absalom, Karina is all for it. This guy is Moria's subordinate, and I have something to talk to Moria about. So I won't kill this guy for the time being. Perhaps, we can use this guy to threaten Moria. And let him be the captain of the affiliated pirate group under my Black Pearl pirate group. As for now, let him feel the pain in my dark fruit space first. Rifan shrugged and said. By now, Rifan has mastered the power of dark fruit very well. It is very easy for Rifan to let a person experience the pain of ultimate in the dark fruit space without dying. If in the past, when he pulled a person into the dark fruit space, will inevitably wear out one's clothes. But now, he can also control the compression and friction of the dark fruit space, so that a person's clothes will not be worn out. Of course, if it was a beautiful girl who was pulled into the dark fruit space, Rifan doesn't mind wearing out her old clothes and preparing a new one for her afterwards. But for man? He is not interested. Of course, if Moria is unwilling to become the captain of my subordinate pirate group, then there's no need for this guy to stay. The ability of the invisibility fruit, there must be someone who wants to obtain it. Rifan smiled, and glanced back at Kazumi who was walking by his side. Kazumi is a ninja, and Ayuna has the ability to be invisible. Rifan didn't believe that Kazumi would not want to gain the power of the invisible fruit. If Moria does not join, his fruit can also be taken. It's just that it may be quite difficult to get Perona to join. Rifan thought to himself. Although in the original book, Perona wanted to escape because she was afraid of the destruction of the thriller bark. But Rifan doesn't believe that Perona will join the team of someone who killed her adoptive father-like being. Since the matter here has been dealt with. Everyone, wait for me here. I'll go meet the skeleton over there for a while. Rifan raised his head and looked at the huge pirate ship several kilometers away. Absalom's affairs were handled quickly, and Brooke was playing the violin intoxicated at the moment. Therefore, he didn't notice what happened on the Black Pearl. I'll go with you, Captain Rifan. Skeleton that can play the violin, I want to see it too. Just when Rifan wanted to fly to the pirate ship where Brooke was, Karina suddenly reached out and put Rifan's arm under her arm. As expected of the brave and careful thief Miss Karina. Since you have spoken, let's go and have a look together. Rifan saw that Karina had something to say to him alone, so he didn't refuse. He put one hand on Karina's back and the other on Karina's leg, holding Karina like a princess and facing the pirate where Brooke was, he stepped on the air hard and soared high. Rifan's speed was very fast, and within a second, he had already reached the sky above Brooke's pirate ship. This fox, is she going to ask Captain Rifan for berry and treasure? Nami crossed her hands, pouted, and looked at the direction Rifan and Karina left with a complaining face. I actually think that Karina wants to talk to Captain Rifan about her training. Robin chuckled and looked towards Bonnie. What are you looking at me like that for? Wait, you think that Karina and I are the weakest on the Black Pearl? Now that I am practicing with Rifan, Karina is a little nervous that she will become the weakest existence on the Black Pearl. So, she wants to talk to Rifan about her training. Bonnie frowned and spoke. I didn't say that, it's all your imagination, Bonnie. Robin said with a chuckle. Humph, your expression clearly reveals that you have such thoughts. Bonnie snorted coldly. If Karina really wants to become stronger, there's nothing wrong with that. At least in this way, the overall strength of the Black Pearl can become even stronger. By the way, Nami, are you going to learn some boxing or kendo from Captain Rifan? Nojiko chuckled and turned to look at Nami. That's true, I'm a bit slow when it comes to developing my Thunder Fruit's abilities. But I'm already familiar with how to use the magic weather stick. Maybe I can indeed learn some skills from Rifan. Speaking of which, Captain Rifan once told me about that boxing technique, maybe I can try it. Nami touched her chin with her hand, and the boxing method Dragon Claw technique that Rifan once said to her appeared in her mind. Owner of Dragon Claw Fist, Sabo incorporated the power of Maramara Fruit into Dragon Claw Fist. Both Thunder Fruit and Maramara Fruit are Logia Devil Fruit, and Rifan has naturally tried to integrate the power of Thunder and Lightning into Dragon Claw Fist. The results of the experiment also satisfied Rifan. The Dragon Claw Fist is a penetrating attack similar to the Inch Fist, and the power of Thunder and Lightning is also quite penetrating. Rifan even thinks that Thunder Fruit is more suitable to match with Dragon Claw Fist than Maramara Fruit. It is also for this reason that Rifan talked to Nami about the idea of instructing her to train the Dragon Claw Fist when she was alone with her. It's just that at that time, Nami temporarily refused because she had not yet mastered the power of the magic weather stick and Thunder Fruit. Are you really just looking for Captain Rifan to train? Nami, aren't you worried that Karina will take advantage with Captain Rifan when they're alone? Robin said with a chuckle. Really, Robin, you're making fun of me again. Nami pouted, glanced at Robin angrily, and said. Speaking of taking advantage, Captain Rifan is the one who knows how to take advantage of others. On the side, Vivi, Bonnie, Khalifa, and others all nodded secretly when they heard the words. Apart from Robin and Nojiko, they are the people on the Black Pearl who know Rifan best. They knew that if Rifan had the chance and Karina didn't refuse firmly, he would indeed have a high probability of making a move. Being taken advantage by Captain? That's nothing bad. Makita could not help showing a trace of longing on her face as she listened to everyone's discussion. For her, it can be said that she can't wait for Rifan to touch her. Not far away, Jun and Hina, who saw this scene, already got used to it. After all, during this period of time, they have become accustomed to this kind of discussion among the female crew members of the Black Pearl Pirates. Hina even took the initiative to participate in the intimate interaction with Rifan. However, Momonga, Anne, Shozo, Bins, who had just arrived on the Black Pearl, were stunned. Unlike Kazumi, although Kazumi just came to the Black Pearl not long ago. But she knows that Rifan, who is a Reincarnator, can use points and power UPS to help his crew gain power. Although she was also surprised that Robin, Nojiko, and others fell in love with Rifan, she can accept it. But although she thinks so, the Marines couldn't think so. Rifan, how did he manage to get so many female crew members to be so close to him? Bins looked at Robin, Nami, and others who were discussing enthusiastically, and said quietly. At this moment, his eyes are full of envy for Rifan. Shameless. Anne pursed her lips and spoke in a very low voice. Apparently, the pure girl couldn't accept so many women hanging out with Rifan. She thought that others could not hear her words. However, Jun and Hina were by her side, so they naturally heard Anne's words clearly. Chapter 301, Bonnie's Devil Fruit and Anne's Devil Fruit. Are you really just looking for Captain Rifan to train? Nami, aren't you worried that Karina will take advantage of Captain Rifan when they're alone? Robin said with a chuckle. Really, Robin, you're making fun of me again. Nami pouted, glanced at Robin angrily, and said. Speaking of taking advantage, Captain Rifan is the one who knows how to take advantage of others. On the side, Vivi, Bonnie, Khalifa, and others all nodded secretly when they heard the words. Apart from Robin and Nojiko, they are the people on the Black Pearl who know Rifan best. They knew that if Rifan had the chance and Karina didn't refuse firmly, he would indeed have a high probability of making a move. Being taken advantage of by Captain Rifan? That's nothing bad. Makita could not help showing a trace of longing on her face as she listened to everyone's discussion. For her, it can be said that she can't wait for Rifan to touch her. Not far away, Jun and Hina, who saw this scene, already got used to it. After all, during this period of time, they have become accustomed to this kind of discussion among the female crew members of the Black Pearl Pirates. Hina even took the initiative to participate in the intimate interaction with Rifan. However, Momonga, Anne, Shozo, Bins, who had just arrived on the Black Pearl, were stunned. Unlike Kazumi, although Kazumi just came to the Black Pearl not long ago. But she knows that Rifan, who is a Reincarnator, can use points and power UPS to help his crew gain power. Although she was also surprised that Robin, Nojiko, and others fell in love with Rifan, she can accept it. But although she thinks so, the Marines couldn't think so. Rifan, how did he manage to get so many female crew members to be so close to him? Binz looked at Robin, Nami, and others who were discussing enthusiastically, and said quietly. At this moment, his eyes are full of envy for Rifan. Shameless! Anne pursed her lips and spoke in a very low voice. Apparently, the pure girl couldn't accept so many women hanging out with Rifan. She thought that others could not hear her words. However, Jun and Hina were by her side, so they naturally heard Anne's words clearly. Thinking of the relationship between her and Rifan at this moment, Hina immediately blushed. Although Jun is okay, she also lets Rifan take advantage of her in order to achieve some goals. Although she also knew that what Anne said was not aimed at them. But she was still a little embarrassed. But soon, Jun overcome the embarrassment in her heart, and turned to look at Nami and others who were discussing with a serious face. According to Nami, Robin et.al. In the future, maybe every crew member of the Black Pearl Pirates will learn some body techniques or kendo from Rifan. That means the future members of the Black Pearl Pirates will only become stronger and more troublesome. Rifan, this man, how did he instruct GI's crew members to train? At this moment, Jun only felt itchy in her heart, and the desire to watch Rifan guide GI's crew members in their training was stronger than ever. For no reason, a dangerous thought popped into her mind. If I really dedicate my body, I don't know if Rifan will let me watch it. Wait, how can I have such an idea? That man Rifan, even if he has developed to that level with Hina. He also did not tell her the relevant methods of how he trained his crew. Even if I did go all out, he certainly wouldn't tell me. Jun shook her head, trying to calm herself down and forget the dangerous thoughts that just came up. However, once such an idea came into being, it seemed to take root in her mind. The more Jun wanted to forget, the clearer her thoughts of dedication and the like became clearer. What Jun didn't know at this moment was, considering the dangers of Summit War, Rifan already had the idea of using virus strengthening potion on her while revealing some false information about his abilities to Hina. If she, Jun, intends to sacrifice herself, she might be able to get some information from Rifan. After all, she is very good at using her own advantages to make clichés. Meanwhile, on the other side, Nojiko, Robin, and others who own observation haki also heard what Anne said. The two shook their ears, and turned their heads to look at Anne with interest. Anne noticed the meaningful gazes of the two, and quickly buried her head down, for fear of attracting the attention of Robin and Nojiko. Nojiko, that little marine girl said we have no shame. How do you feel? After Robin pulled Nojiko 2 steps away from the crowd, she asked Nojiko with a smile on her face. Since she has said so, why not let her see my shameless side? Presumably she saw me changing into her form and Captain Rifan embracing each other. Her expression will definitely be quite interesting. Nojiko raised her hand to support her cheek, and looked at Anne not far away with a wicked smile. Nojiko, you have become really bad now. Aren't you the same, Robin? But compared to you Robin, I'm far behind. It should all be influenced by that man. Indeed, who made the man we fell in love with so bad? Speaking of this, Robin and Nojiko looked at each other, and they both laughed. Up to now, although the two have not communicated with each other, they will act very tacitly to make Rifan feel happier. For this reason, the two are even willing to create opportunities for Rifan to get in touch with other women. At this moment, because of Anne's words, the two of them were even thinking about how to make and use the special ointment. And have Anne brand milk in Rifan's fridge. What are you two laughing at? I always feel that your smile is a little dangerous. At this time, Bonnie's voice rang in the ears of the two. Nojiko smiled, and immediately said what Anne said earlier and what she and Robin had made up. Speaking of which, that little girl's devil fruit ability is somewhat similar to yours, Bonnie. It's a pity that her ability can only make living things go backwards in the previous direction. If her ability can make creatures move their time forward like yours, maybe she can become the age of a mother who just gave birth without the need for special ointment. Nojiko stroked her chin and looked at Anne with great interest. After copying Anne's body data, Nojiko has found time to study her abilities. Naturally, she also knows some secrets about Anne's regression devil fruit. It sounds like a subordinate fruit of my devil fruit. Speaking of which, the shameless she said earlier also included me. In this case, we have to give her some teaching. Bonnie rubbed her hands, and walked towards Anne with strides. Anne had been paying attention to the situation of Bonnie, Nojiko, and Robin. Seeing Bonnie approaching now, she immediately became nervous. You bastard, what do you want to do? Seeing Bonnie approaching, Shouzo quickly stood in front of Anne. Although his injury has not fully recovered, but as her senior, he thinks he has to protect Anne from harassment. Having heard the rumors about Rifan, he naturally knew that the girl Anne was in the most dangerous situation on Rifan's Black Pearl. Even if Rifan is not here at the moment, Rifan's partner may bring danger to Anne. Although Momanga didn't speak, he walked over holding his wound. Humph, if you're injured, just stay aside, you're in my way. Bonnie snorted coldly, and flickered at Shouzo and Momanga who stood in front of Anne. Next moment. Bang! A wave of explosion exploded in front of Momanga and Shouzo. Although the explosion was not strong, the strong wind made the two of them take a few steps back, and gave way to Anne behind them. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Bonnie suddenly accelerated and came to Anne's side. She raised her hand and lightly brushed Anne's shoulder. The next moment, Anne's body began to shrink sharply, turning into the state of a 6 or 7-year-old girl. This is... Anne stared wide-eyed, looking at her state in shock. All along, you are the one who makes others young. This time, you should try to feel what it likes to be a child. Take it as your punishment for scolding me earlier, Bonnie folded her hands on her chest, looked down and glared at Anne, and then walked aside with a smile on her face. Anne looked at the back of Bonnie leaving, and then looked at her current state, almost crying. As Bonnie said, there was a time when she made enemy pirates smaller and younger, and even used the power of the regression fruit directly to make her opponents disappear. But now, being rejuvenated by another person made Anne feel very complicated. It would be fine if she got older, she might be able to use the power of her devil fruit to restore herself to her original state. But now, she can only bear the current state silently. What to do, Colonel Hina, Jun Vice Admiral? Anne pursed her lips, and looked at Hina and Jun, who were both female, for help. Don't worry, Bonnie's abilities are different from yours. If you are reduced by her, you don't need her to lose consciousness before you can recover. As long as you wait for a certain period of time, you will be able to return to your original state. Jun squatted down and patted Anne's shoulder and explained. Unlike Momanga and Shouzo, she knew that Bonnie and other girls would not really do anything to Anne. Perhaps influenced by Rifan, Bonnie and other crew members are much gentler to female passengers than to male passengers. That's why she didn't stand up like Shouzo and Momanga before. Of course, this is also the reason why she wants to see if Bonnie has learned anything from Rifan. In addition, if Rifan really wants to do something to Anne, Jun also knows that she can't stop it. On this Black Pearl, Rifan has a lot of opportunities to attack Anne. The only thing she can be thankful for is that when women don't want to, Rifan only takes advantage of them. Just like when Rifan treated her. Having said that, but thinking of Rifan's increasingly daring actions towards her, Jun still sighed faintly. It seems that I'm a little bit too comfy with that guy Rifan. If this continues, I will really be eaten by him. Sure enough, I can no longer use myself as a bargaining chip to seek information from Rifan. Although she thought so in her heart, Jun also understood that if given the chance, she would still be willing to give something for important information. Speaking of which, the ability that Bonnie used earlier looks familiar. Jun turned her head to look at Bonnie's back, and her mind began to run quickly. Jun Vice Admiral, the technique used by Jewelry Bonnie seems to be the technique of the once arrested transvestite King Ivankov. At this time, Momanga came over rubbing his chest. That guy who seems to be from the Revolutionary Army. Jun frowned deeply when she heard what Momanga said. To the outside world, although Ivankov was caught on impelled down on trumped-up charges. But at the rank of Jun and Momanga, they can still know some inside stories. Although it is not certain, the Marine and world government did suspect that Ivankov followed the leader of the Revolutionary Army to engage in the actions of the Revolutionary Army, so they arrested him. Similarly, during the capture process, Marine also has a certain understanding of Ivankov's techniques. It should be just a coincidence. There are many similar skills in this world. What Bonnie used earlier, wasn't necessarily what Ivankov used. Even if she really used Ivankov's technique, it doesn't mean anything. Tricks, after all, are just tricks. Jun shook her head and said. Chapter 302, The Problem Rifan Throws at Jun. However, if Jewelry Bonnie really used Ivankov's technique, this at least shows that Rifan may have some kind of connection with Ivankov. Momanga frowned and said. Hearing this, Jun shook her head and said. This statement may be applicable to other people. But it's not necessarily on Rifan's body. Momanga, you also have a certain understanding of Rifan. That man, in terms of martial arts, has mastered a variety of body techniques including Marine 6 styles, Fishman Karate, 8 Impact Fissi, etc. I believe that you have also done some investigation on him. Similarly, it should not have been investigated where and from whom Rifan learned these skills. After getting along for such a period of time, I realized that this man Rifan has considerable talent in body arts and kendo. Maybe, he only needs to fight other people, or just see others use a certain skill, and he can record it in his mind. After that, he can take the time to master it. Ivankov's power, Rifan may only have seen him use it, so he can grasp it. Or, Ivankov taught his technique to others, and Rifan mastered Ivankov's skills through this other person, and taught it to Jewelry Bonnie. Two people have the same skills, not necessarily the same camp. It's like the power of Marine 6 styles. The Marine 6 styles used by Marine are not only mastered by Marine. There are quite a few pirates in this world who can use one or two of them. Many of the Marines have also fought the pirates who wield the Marine 6 styles. Momonaz know this too. After listening to Jun's words, Momanga nodded secretly. Having said that, it concerns the Revolutionary Army. Momonaz are still pretty cautious. Even, he was ready to check again to see if Bonnie had more of Ivankov's techniques. Same as Jun, though she persuaded Momanga. But she also had considerable doubts in her heart. Ivankov's techniques. Rifan, this man, really threw me a difficult problem. I don't know if I ask him, will he tell me? Or do I need to pay a certain price before he can tell me? Jun sighed, thinking to herself. Rifan never thought of it. He did not show the Dragon Claw Fist in front of Marine and others. As a result, Bonnie showed a little bit of Nukama Kenpo, and Marines Jun and Momanga linked him to the Revolutionary Army. Of course, even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Just to this extent, the Marine and world government won't do anything to him. After all, the summit war is about to begin. Miss Anne, you seem to be inconvenient. The clothes on your body have also become quite ill-fitting. How about I take you to see other clothes that fit? At this time, Nico Robin walked to Anne's side and spoke. Jun followed the sound and found that Robin and Nojiko quietly came to Anne's side. As for Anne, she was looking at Jun, Momanga and the others asking for help. I'll go with Anne. There's nothing going on here anyway. Jun saw Anne's worry, smiled slightly, and took 2 steps forward. For this disciple of Zephyr, Jun still wants to take good care of her. And try not to let Rifan do something to her. Alright, it happens that Ms. Jun can also change her clothes. Captain Rifan bought a lot of clothes according to your figure. Nojiko smiled, but did not reject Jun. Really, then I really have to thank Rifan. However, I just hope that these clothes can be a little more normal. Jun said. Whether it is normal or not, you will know when you look at it. Nodding, turned around and walked towards the cabin. And Robin used the ability of flower fruit to push Anne to the cabin with a long hand on the deck. On the other side, the pirate ship that Brooke is on. There really is a skeleton playing the violin. Captain Rifan, don't tell me you want this guy to be our musician. In the air, Karina looked down at Brooke on the deck of the pirate ship, then turned to look at Rifan and asked. Once, Rifan said that he would invite a good enough musician for the Black Pearl. At this moment, Karina could clearly see Rifan's interest in Brooke. So there is such a question. Yes, I do have a way to invite this guy on board. Karina, don't you think a skeleton version of the musician would be interesting? And look at him, isn't he pretty good at playing the violin? Rifan said with a smile on his face. From up in the air, he'd been watching Brooke for a while. Although he doesn't know much about music. But from the perspective of an audience, Brooke's performance is indeed very beautiful. Similarly, Rifan is also somewhat looking forward to pile up Brooke's loyalty to 100%, and share his musical talent with Brooke, who made him have a musical dream. And with musical talent, Rifan can also play some music when alone with Robin and Nojiko. Invisibly, the emotional appeal is more abundant. This guy is indeed an excellent musician. At least I haven't found a better musician than him in East Blue. Karina nodded and said. Experts looking at experts, naturally have different feelings. Although Karina's position on the Black Pearl is thief. But her diva skills are equally extraordinary. As a musician, she can naturally see that Brooke is extraordinary. Since you're also interested, Karina. Then it's decided. That being the case, before the Black Pearl has its own diva, it's up to you and Brook to play and sing for everyone. Rifan raised the corner of his mouth and smiled. Really, even with me here, Captain Rifan still wants to find a diva. Having said that, it is not easy to find a singer who is better than me. Karina puffed out her chest and said proudly. She has the capital of her self-confidence. Once upon a time, she stole the treasures of many wealthy businessmen by means of her singing. Then you should look forward to it. Of course, even if we find one, Karina, you can still sing on the stage in the music room of Black Pearl. For now, let's go meet Brook. As Rifan said, he began to use the kilo fruit to lower himself and Karina in his arms in the air. Gradually they fell towards the deck where Brook was. Karina didn't know, but Rifan knew it clearly. In this world, there is a diva that could almost destroy the world with her devil fruit ability alone. Red-haired daughter Yuta, who has the ability of sing devil fruit. I don't know where she is now, and to what extent her devil fruit's ability has been developed. Rifan thought in his heart. He had a hunch that when Yuta boarded his ship and became his diva, he might get into a fight with the redhead. But even so, he didn't care. He won't let her die like in the movie. Under the observation of a group of Blue Star audiences, Rifan and Karina quietly fell behind Brook. Perhaps it was because Brook was too immersed in playing. Perhaps it was because Rifan and Karina landed so quietly. After Rifan and Karina fell down, Brook still didn't stop playing, as if he didn't notice Rifan and Karina at all. Seeing this, Rifan and Karina didn't bother Brook, but just quietly waited for the end of his performance. After a few minutes, when Brook finished a song and stopped playing, Rifan and Karina applauded one after another. Who? Startled by the sudden applause, Brook turned around in horror, his mouth almost opened wide. Just someone who happened to pass by here. We heard you playing, so we just listened for a while. You shouldn't mind, right, Mr. Skeleton? While clapping his hands, Rifan looked with interest at Brook, whose eyes were tightly pressed against the side of the ship. From the looks of it, it was clear that the presence of Rifan and Karina had taken Brook by surprise. What, so it's a guest? I thought it was a ghost. Nearly stopped my heart in shock. Although I don't have a heart, yo ho 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 ho. Brook patted his chest and let out his trademark laugh. Chapter 303, Moria's men begged for mercy. Speaking of ghosts, why are you more scared of it when you're like that? You're obviously a skeleton, but you're still alive and able to speak. Karina rested her chin on one hand and looked at Brook in front of her with interest. Well, I'm like this for a reason. Brook turned his head to look at Karina, the hollow eye holes seemed to widen a lot in an instant. Looking carefully, there is actually a girl who I thought was quite beautiful here. I don't know, can you show me your pan? Boom. Before Brook finished speaking, Rifan, who had been prepared for a long time, raised his hand and hit Brook on the chin with a rising dragon fist. Although Rifan didn't use all his strength, Brook's body still flew high into the air for a distance of more than 2 meters before falling down. Oh ouch, it hurts so much, why did you attack me? Brook stood up, clutching his chin, and complainingly shouted at Rifan. What did you say? You were going to say something very rude to my crew earlier. I can tell you, if you say such things to Karina next to me, or to other female crew members on my ship, I will also perform the dragon fist on you again. But next time, maybe one blow can dislocate your jaw. Rifan folded his arms, with a serious expression on his face. Dislocated? Scary. How can there be such a terrible man? By the way, I'm obviously a skeleton, why aren't you afraid of me, but I'm afraid of you. Brook put his hands on the ground, his face full of despair. Having said that, neither Rifan nor Karina felt pity. Because they feel that Brook is playing with them. It's just a skeleton, no big deal. Besides, in fact, you don't have to be afraid of me. After all, I still want to invite you to be a musician on my ship. Rifan laughed. Let me be a musician on your ship. Is what you said true? Brook quickly got up and came to Rifan, stretched out his skeleton hand to hold Rifan's hand. No wonder Brook was so excited. Over the years, quite a few people have been intimidated by his looks. Therefore, even though there are many people in the Devil's Triangle Sea area who were robbed of their shadows by Moria just like him, and stayed in the thriller bark. But Brook has not been able to integrate into their group. This also caused Brook to be quite lonely. How could Brook not be thrilled to suddenly have someone who wasn't intimidated by him, and even invited him to be a fellow musician? Naturally it is true. But please remember what I said earlier. Please don't harass my female crew. If you can't guarantee that you can do it, I may not be able to invite you to my ship. Also, about their panties. Like this Karina next to me, I'm the only one who can peeks at her panties. Rifan shrugged, gave himself a thumbs up, and smiled. Rifan, how can you say that? Wait, you didn't really peek at it, did you? Karina raised her eyebrows and looked at Rifan with a frown. But the next moment, she put on a smiling face with an okay gesture. Since you have seen it, shouldn't you pay for it? Since it's your first offense, I will charge you 5 million berries for it. Hearing this, Brooke's eyes widened. 5 million berries, so expensive. Rifan nodded with a smile on his face. 5 million berries? It's quite cheap. It seems that I will have to peek a few times later. Hearing it, Brooke was stunned on the spot again. For a while, he began to wonder if the current prices have soared. And the 5 million berries has become worthless. Unable to figure it out, Brooke could only shake his head. I'm glad you invited me to be your musician. I really want to join you. Unfortunately, I still have something to do here. So, I can't join you. As Brooke said that, he looked in the direction of the terrifying thriller barks. Isn't it just a matter of shadows? Don't worry, I will help you. Rifan laughed. You know. Brooke stared at Rifan with wide-eyed eyes. Nonsense, you think I can't see the missing shadow under your feet? As Rifan said, he raised his finger and pointed to the bottom of Brooke's feet. Under the reflection of a firelight. Only Rifan and Karina are shadowed. And Brooke is shadowless. I see. Brooke nodded, and said. Since you know about shadows, you should know about Moria too. His strength is particularly strong. Although as long as I defeat the zombie that merged with the shadow, my shadow can come back. But unfortunately, my shadow was stuffed into the body of a very powerful swordsman. Legends say that the body was originally a hero from Wano Kuni, and he was called the swordsman who slayed a dragon. Although you look very strong, you will definitely not be his opponent. So, I can only say thank you for your kindness. As Brooke said that, he bowed slightly and gave a gentleman's salute to Rifan and Karina. For Rifan and Karina, Brooke has a good impression on them. Therefore, he doesn't want Rifan and Karina, or Rifan's other partners to follow him in danger. However, when he saw Rifan raised his hand to cast the Dark Fruit ability, and took the invisible fruit ability user Absalom out of the dark space, his eye sockets widened again. This is Absalom, Moria's cotter. Brooke looked at the miserable-looking Absalom, with bruises all over his body, as if he had been squeezed by some heavy object and was completely shocked. Damn it, let me go, you bastard. Moria-sama will not let you go. Absalom fixed his eyes on Rifan, and said. Hehe, to be honest, my target this time is your boss Gecko Moria. By the way, my bounty is 1 billion berries. It's several times higher than Moria. Do you think Moria can help you? Rifan folded his hands and looked at Absalom coldly. Rifan didn't just say this sentence to Absalom. It was also for Brooke to hear. Let Brooke know what a strong man is standing in front of him. Only then can he understand that Rifan has the ability to take him away from this Black Sea. Absalom, 1 billion berry. Brooke, 1 billion. Absalom and Brooke immediately shouted when they heard this. The next moment, the two subconsciously realized that Rifan was lying. Hump, you don't believe it from the expressions on your faces, right? It doesn't matter, I happen to have a reward order for Captain Rifan here. Karina chuckled, raised her hand and took out a reward order from her cleavage, showing it in front of Brooke and Absalom. Rifan couldn't help being a little surprised when he saw the location where Karina took out the reward order. 102-3, really, 1 billion berries. Brooke opened his mouth wide and looked at Rifan in disbelief. The same is true for Absalom, after seeing the reward amount on Rifan's reward order. He was completely stunned on the spot, unable to utter a word. At this moment, he began to regret that he would find Rifan and others. Seeing how you were still able to roar just now, I think you are still very energetic. In this case, you can go to my dark space and enjoy it more. Rifan gave Absalom a funny look, and then opened the dark space again, dragging Absalom down. No. I don't want to go in there anymore. Let me go, please, let me go. Absalom felt the familiar feeling of falling, and immediately shouted in panic. That's not okay, why did you want to extend your salty hand to the female crew on my ship just now? I hate perverts like you the most in my life. Don't say it's my crew you're trying to touch. Even if what you touch is not my female crew, but other ladies. I'll teach you a lesson too. Rifan waved his hand and said to Absalom with a solemn expression. And this became the last scene Absalom saw before falling completely into the dark space. He is so miserable. Brooke smacked his mouth and sighed. He never imagined that he would see Absalom in such a state in his life. However, from this point of view, he really has the power to defeat Moria and help me regain my shadow. Brooke raised his head to look at Rifan, and murmured in a low voice.
Thanks for listening.